I debated.
Lucas, I'm dead. I'm dead, Lucas.
I debated whether or not we should start the show just chugging beer.
Oh,
Just
I tried. That's part of why I
fucking-
was making this face. This is powerful.
just chugging. Like that was on my mind. Anyway, welcome to Brewing Controversy or something.
Oh.
We're on the other side. If you're here, say hi. Rob's here. Here we are, indeed. And yes, Rob, apparently we coordinated the attire in that
I saw
David
him in the shirt,
left
and then
to
I just
get
wanted to make
dressed.
fun of him, and I went and grabbed my shirt.
David left to get dressed and came back in the same fucking pattern. And we also figured, it can't hurt because soon we will all need to choose our uniform, whether it is commander or an eye or a handmaid or a Martha, whatever the fuck. Anyway, Darlene is here. Hello, Darlene. It's been a minute since I have, definitely a long time since I've seen Darlene. Good to see you here. So yeah, welcome to Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. This is David. And speaking of the comment section, we have a special third person with us this evening. In the effort to bring as many people as I know together that might need to commiserate together, I invited John to join us. So what's up, man? Hey, John. Good to see you.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Oh, I've been better.
Yeah.
Same.
Now, we do have, as we mentioned last time, we were going to dump StreamYard because fuck those assholes for doubling their prices. I guess in retrospect, they were just ahead of the trend. They knew that they should financially fuck everyone before the election as opposed to waiting until we found out our fate. So we've decided to adopt a new platform. We're using Restream now, which I'm learning on the fly. So there might be things that are awkward and weird, like the opener that didn't nicely fade into us, and the fact that I don't have my beer intro videos right now. So we're going to be doing that a little differently. But this is the show that we talk shit about current events and politics and drink and review craft beer with your comments, which are... Oh, look at that. They're still there. I can't see them as easily now. We could do this.
Yes, you should do that. I was actually going to send you a DM telling you to do that.
But I'm afraid of the people going nuts. And then we're hoping to squeeze all of us in something like this, and I'll try to dick with whoever's talking and put you in the big box. That motherfucker Vargas won. Yeah. See, Rob doesn't even get the silver linings that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah,
here
at least at least Nashville got one silver lining.
We did. That actually excites me. It's the only thing I can really be excited about.
Well, the first thing we're going to do is talk about our first beer, and then there won't be anything really fancy to accompany the next one, but we will talk about the next beers. But for the moment, we will jump straight in. But first beer, David, it's time for us to talk about some pumpkin. So you want to go first? You've already got yours open, I guess. So maybe
yeah. So I have the Shipyard Smashed Pumpkin, Imperial Pumpkin. This thing hits like a sack of bricks. It's got pumpkin in there, yes, and some spice and alcohol.
Lots and lots of alcohol.
Here's the thing: pumpkin and nutmeg forgive many sins. So a real bold alcohol ester is not something that you're going to get out of this, but that grip on your tongue that you get when it's like, is this bad for me? I'm in danger, right? So it's this is not a session beer. This is sit down and you're going to slog through it and you're going to kind of enjoy it, and it's going to be. I mean, it's pumpkin. I love pumpkin ale. Does it have anything that really sets it apart from other than being pumpkin? Well, no.
I mean, it's an imperial pumpkin. What did you expect? It was going to be
well, but some
high
are
octane.
different. I think part of it is that Shipyard pumpkin ale is like, especially in my mind, is so much like the standard bearer of what pumpkin ale should be.
Okay.
So it's basically just Shipyard ale with like we left it in the oven too long. That's what we've done here. But yeah, I definitely need to start with something heavy, and then we've got nothing but high graph beers tonight, just because.
Yeah,
we need it.
We need the mood adjustment. We need.
As I was entering the beer pre-show, I kept getting to the ABV. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna die. Well, speaking of beers with high ABVs and pumpkins, mine is also an imperial pumpkin. And of course, if you know me, you didn't have to guess for too long that it would be New Holland's Ichabod's Revenge. Tartar. I'm not the pumpkin ale fan that David is, so I'm gonna need mine kind of barrel aged, because I am a barrel aged hoe, and so that is accomplished in the more powerful version of their Ichabod. So Ichabod's their standard, and Ichabod's Revenge is the beefier version. I was looking for the description, but it's sideways, and I don't want to turn it sideways. But let me see. They don't have a description on the Untapped listing. That's weird. Anyway,
well, just make one up as you taste it.
Well, classic fall aromas and flavor is what one of the people said. Sweet, spicy, potatoey, malty goodness. Actually, I like that. That rolls off the tongue. Sweet, spicy, potatoey, malty goodness. I don't know if potatoey is a phrase I've ever used for describing beer, though.
I mean, my vodka in this glass is kind of potato.
Yeah. John's had his, what did you say, one beer for the season or for the year or something?
Yeah, well, I think I joked for the year, but I've quit drinking beer since I was diagnosed diabetic, and alcohol in general. My consumption has went to practically none. But if I'm going to do it, doing something like vodka and soda water, no sugar, is the best way you can do it. I mean, still not great, but
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, these are good. These are nice to see on the market. I mean, because you're so obsessed with pumpkin beer, David, I was glad to find Ichabod's Revenge, because it's like, okay, I can at least get into that pumpkin thing. I'm also just really like into the artwork. It's just got such a let's see, there it is. There's such a lot of fun going on there with this versus the regular Ichabod. They really do a good job on these labels. And I love the jet black can, like everything, including the tab and the lid, everything's jet black on this can. So they kind of go all in on the experience. But I will agree, it does share that boozy wallop that you're getting from your Shipyard, which I don't know is an unwelcome thing right about now, right?
Yeah, there we go. I gotta say, so my one problem with the artwork on this can is this: it's really hard to see, but there's two different shades of orange.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
like for the depth of the teeth. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but it doesn't really come. Like looking at it in person, it really, like on camera, it comes out pretty good, nice.
Yeah, it works. It adds some 3D depth.
But looking at it in person, it does not. It just looks like someone fucked up the color palette on the edge.
Putting on my designer hat and my Simpsons comic guy impersonation, I do have to say, actually, the colors are reversed, because the darker color should be on the outside, representing the skin of the pumpkin, while the lighter shade would represent the 3D shading of the depth of the pumpkin flesh. So,
nerd!
I don't love it that way, but
well, that is actually the case. It is actually a darker. Well, no, it isn't.
No, on camera, the darker looked like it was on the inside.
I mean, it's the thing. Like on camera, it looks kind of it looks okay. In person, you're like, ew.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get to it, shall we? I guess the thing the thing that we we have got going for us is, and this is kind of, it's not, I don't think it's a feature. It's a little bit of a bug of our show is already 2 white dudes talking about this shit.
Yeah.
Now we have 3 white dudes talking about this shit, and we basically have people that represent the people most likely to survive the next 4 years without much adversity whatsoever.
We hope.
And
I don't know. I've already been threatened with being sent to a camp like starting 6 months ago.
yeah,
Did you
I
get that
don't-
as a text?
You keep mentioning that. What? Tell that story real quick. What the fuck are you talking about?
So, at least at one of the bars I frequent, people know because they'll say something and they'll be like, that's not really right. And then like you start a conversation and you realize, oh, David's a big fucking social democrat. And inevitably people are like, we're going to deal with people like you. I'm like, ah, shit, here it comes. We're gonna set up the camps, and we're gonna set like Trump is gonna send you to the camps. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound Nazi at all, does it?
So you have bar banter.
Well, no,
Just
but I mean,
Tennessee
like,
standard bar banter sounded
Yeah.
like, but
I mean, here's the thing. I've had other people like be very vocal to me because living in Tennessee, the expectation of most people in most places is that you're going to be Republican. And the problem is that, of course, in Nashville, the expectation of most places and most people is that you will be Democrat. And the problem is that you, with Nashville especially, is that you get a lot of people coming in from the surrounding counties because their county sucks, and it's a trash heap of one form or another. Franklin is a boring, generic trash heap. Sumner County is a flaming trash heap. Robertson is a trash heap that can't even become a proper trash heap.
So what you're saying is it's like an island of garbage?
Yeah. So, you get a lot of people coming from these surrounding counties, which are heavily, heavily, heavily Republican. And they expect you to be on their side. And like, I'm not in your community. You're in mine. So fuck off. And also I get a little annoyed because like I'm like, where are you from? Missouri. I'm like, huh. Funny story. I'm actually from here. I'm a native. Most of the natives I grew up with are big fucking Democrats. I don't know where the fuck you're from, but
yeah. Well, also, Missouri is kind of a mixed bag because don't they have a Democratic governor?
well, no, but I gave that as an example, right? But like
But
all
if
these
they
people
say
from
shit
other
like
places,
that, like my comeback would be, well, your governor's Democrat. Where's your
like I had someone from some Midwestern state. The other day I was getting my hair cut from someone from Boston, and they're like, "Well, I came down here because, people don't tell you what to do." I'm like, "Oh God, here we go. You're trying to code word in your shit for being a crypto Republican." And like that's become a problem with Nashville is that a lot of crypto Republicans move here thinking that this is some sort of conservative city. It's not. And then they get really fucking tweaked when they realize, no, all your neighbors are big fucking Democrats. And most of the people who moved here from the north are big Democrats. You moved here thinking one thing. Listen, if you wanted that, you needed to move to, I don't know, Overland Park, Kansas, or, some suburb of Austin. I like not an established 200-year-old city.
Yeah. I I like the confirmation from Morgan. I actually said it wrong. Something else should have been the island of garbage. Robertson County is just straight up like clinging Bible gun deplorable territory. It's
No, I mean, I straight up tell people we were like, I want to move to Nashville. I'm like, okay, so here's what you need to understand. This is the county line.
Yeah.
If you want affordable housing, you go to that side and you deal with the Klan. If you want not having to
good
deal with the
pavement
Klan,
and
you
some
stay on this
services.
side of the
This is
line.
the side. Yeah. Right. If you want people to enforce the HOV lane, stay on that side, especially if it's Williamson County. If you
Wait, that
want
actually
this
happens
side, you
anywhere
get
in
better
Tennessee?
pavement. Do what now?
That actually happens anywhere in Tennessee, the HOV lane enforcement?
I
I've
had
never
a
seen it.
theory when I was in the part of my career that was apparently drifting up and down I-65.
Mhm.
I had a theory that the enforcement stopped like once you got into South Nashville, that they did the enforcement just to protect the cheating rich people. So they would like let them have it and ignore them. But if you had a basic ass car and you were driving alone, you were going to get pulled over by the state troopers.
I could see that, especially if they're like checking the county on the plate.
Yeah. But if they saw you in Davidson County, they just wouldn't give a shit
Yeah.
like across the board.
And now we
Um,
just don't have traffic enforcement at all. Although there is an uptick in that. If you've seen that article going around, I forget who it was. Someone in government like yelled at the police chief, and then on the next cycle of stats, there was actually an uptick in traffic enforcement. And there was some press release where that politician thanked the police chief for actually listening for once. I thought it was kind of sideways, but
yeah,
That's interesting.
it probably was. I just want to give a shout out to Darlene's comment real here. Is it possible to turn these surrounding counties blue? Here's the problem, and we're going to get into this about why things didn't work right. But a lot of the reason why they're not blue is because they directly benefit emotionally from a culture of exclusion and repression. The example I always give is, during the American Civil War. Yep, we don't have David's Wayback Machine graphic anymore, but
What?
we're gonna do it real
Yes,
fast.
we do.
We do.
Don't
We'll
make
run
too
it.
many assumptions. There is still a way, but I just had to look for it and figure
One
out
of
where
the
the
examples
fuck
I always use
put
from
it.
the Civil
There it
War
is. It lives on top
there you
of John's face. That's where it lives.
What? Why
I
would
prefer it actually that way. Keep it that way.
I like how the
There we
arrow is
go.
pointing directly into. There we go. One of the things that a lot of people kept on asking was, why would poor Southerners who never owned slaves want to fight for the Confederacy? And the reasoning was because, well, at the very least, they're better off than a black person socially, and in terms of their status in society. They may be the very bottom of the rung of white people, but by preserving slavery and it was the same with Jim Crow, by preserving
Found it. Now I just have to put you in the main box.
there we go.
Cool.
By
Told
preserving
you we were going to learn
these
this one together.
institutions, by preserving these institutions, they make themselves seemingly better off, or at least the perception of being better off. And it's one of the things that I talk about a lot, which is one of the problems that we're having in America right now, which is a trend I like to call the democratization of feeling, which is facts don't matter. How I feel about it matters. Feeling how I feel about stuff matters more than what's actually happening. And I would, again, we're going to get into it a little bit more, but I would argue that has a lot to do with what happened on Tuesday. But turning those counties around would require that their economies change drastically. Right now, they exist as satellite communities to a larger economy. They can suffice off a culture and society of exclusion and not have an economic hit, really, because they get included automatically in a inclusive society. If they were to find themselves relying on being inclusive to better their economic situation, I think then you would begin to see that change in that county vote and how they approach certain issues, because then if their economics depends on inclusion, then they're gonna start changing their tune.
By the way, Brian's here. Hi, Brian. Good to see you. And I have not been able to follow this news, but Rob has alluded to Florida not legalizing. That sucks. Speaking of, Brian, we are on a new streaming platform, but we did bring a very important element with us. So when you're ready, we got you covered. We already did beer at the top of the show, so feel free to drop in your review of your shared delights this evening. So, yeah, David, it's we talk about this a lot about the need to have somebody that's pushed down, and the Republicans tend to sell that pretty hard. Like, well,
Oh yeah,
you're not great, but you're still better than those people.
I mean it's an easy sell. I mean, all throughout history, it's always an easy sell to do the point and blame game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my fault that this is happening; it's someone else's fault.
Yep.
I mean, some of the biggest moments in history are all about getting everyone whipped up to go do horrible things. I mean, and you can look at the French Revolution and the revolutionary and those revolutionary wars that happened in Europe following the French Revolution, which was the French government trying to be like, oh, all these bad things, because we don't know how to govern right now because we've existed in an autocracy for 500, 600 years. All these bad things that are happening are the fault of all these other monarchies working against us. So we have to go fight them. And you get all these wars. France declares war on basically everyone for about a 10-year period. After, with the unification, not only with Nazi Germany, but even with the unification of Germany. One of the first efforts of the unification of Germany was blaming Catholics
Mm-hmm.
because Lutherans are predominantly located in the north of the country, and getting the North German Confederation sort of really unified. Otto von Bismarck made a big deal about blaming all these problems in North Germany on South Germany and their Catholics. Russia blamed, all sorts of problems on Turks and on, these other whichever ethnic minority within their borders they felt they needed to quell. I mean, it's a example repeated again and again and again. It's still repeated today, not just in the U.S., but in France and England. So many,
Yep.
very often things are blamed on immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
In Japan, the Bakunin, which are a darker skinned sort of subcaste within Japanese society, who are native Japanese, them and the Anui are both regularly sort of semi-demonized. In fact, Japan had to draft laws about not discriminating against these groups because they used to publish books so that people could identify, even if you changed your name, people could continue to identify you by your membership in that caste. And it was a big thing in Japan about banning these books because companies would refuse to employ people who they thought were from this, even though Japan officially doesn't have a caste society, they existed as a lower caste.
Yeah.
And of course, in terms of caste, we still have India, which still practices caste discrimination to this day.
Well, I'm going to give the THC representatives a moment because we did have a couple of comments on that front. So the people that are not just drinking tonight are bringing us in with, I know I found the right box for this. I just had to figure it out. That's the one. Bringing us in with their comments on their particular treats. And Rob kept it short and sweet. So Camino, I think I have that brand here. 10 milligram Bliss Raspberry Lemonade Edible. And Brian, Wednesday go away, Tuesday, and also Wednesday, and maybe even today. Ray Bay, I guess, indica from True Leave, 31% THC. I dig it. So election night partying, I crossfaded a good bit. I actually had a friend stop by earlier to sit on the porch and talk some election post gaming, and some of the things he and I talked about are going to inform some of the discussion that we have tonight. So it was really compatible. And it was funny because he was talking about, like, I was at the Kent Dems party Tuesday because I saw you there, and I was like, oh God, did we talk or did I like zone out and ignore you inexplicably because I'm fucking terrible in crowds about doing that to people. And then I realize like they think I'm ignoring them or I've got a problem with them, but I'm in tunnel vision to whatever I'm after. And I had been crossfading for the party. So I was a little concerned. He's like, no, we fist bumped and talked for a second. I'm like, okay, good. Because I had an agenda. It was multifaceted. I was trying to like take care of my local candidate a little bit and trying to meet a guy that's going to have to quit his job because he won his election and I won his job. And so I was trying to like glad hand, like, hey, I'd like to be your guy. And then just generally like, you know, the new mayor and stuff. So I was trying to make the rounds. So I was worried that I had ignored him. But yeah, a couple nights ago, it was definitely both influences for me. So I'm going to do something we don't normally do, but it's a new feature that we have. So we're going to turn on the chat and leave it on the screen. So we'll see how this goes. I have been very used to being able to just kind of manage what we what we pull up. So the screen's getting crowded, but it's going to be worth it because you guys often have a lot of great commentary and I can't get to it every time. Olivia's here. Hi, Olivia. Good to see you. So we will all try to keep our faces in the right box. And let's dive into this just a little bit. So David and I brought a few points, a bit of a list.
Well, before we get to that, we forgot the one silver lining that Bush and I had.
Oh shit, that's right. I didn't do the locals. Duh. Go for you. Start your silver lining, then I'll run down.
Yeah, we
mine.
have one
I
silver lining,
alluded
which
to
was
those.
the transit referendum passed by 65%.
Yeah, we smashed it. I think that
We,
was
we
great.
did a really great
Wow.
job.
And that's a sales tax increase, right?
So a temporary sales tax increase, basically until it's paid off, and then it goes away. The big reason why I wanted to vote for it is because it unlocked additional federal money coming to Tennessee to be applied to transit needs.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know
the
people
other-
that voted against it that voted for all the other right things, and I didn't know they were going to vote against it. Or I would have talked to them in advance. But
I mean, I understand some people can be a little bit twitchy about the tax increase, but one of the the big things is that for those of you not in Nashville, like the traffic has just gotten unbearable already. I know for a lot of employers, in the past 3 years, for the two employers that I've had, being an hour late wasn't entirely beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Simply because you would leave your house at a reasonable time. Like even at like for me, from where I live to get downtown, even though technically Apple Maps would love to tell me it should only take 20 minutes. I'm like, no, I know it'll take 40. I know it'll take double the time. But for a lot of people, like, oh, I'm leaving an hour before my shift. I'm leaving an hour before where I need to be someplace, and still not getting there within a 30-minute window of where you were aiming to be because the traffic has gotten so bad. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of the development not being very responsible about responding to and being aware of traffic patterns. But a lot of it is also just simply these roads were not designed, and the system was not designed for this level of traffic.
No, it wasn't.
So it's the whole point is that we're going to get first of all, we're going to get a smart traffic light system so that, like the other night when I was on Old Hickory and I kept on trying to sit there being like, okay, the light's going to turn green. It's going to turn it's never turning green, is it?
Nope, it's not.
Literally,
our traffic.
Go
ahead.
I was looking at the walkway sign, being like, okay, this will tell me when it's about to turn green, and like the red hand would be up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it would flip right back around.
So no smart features, no sensors, no nothing.
Well, we have some. Nashville's a really, really, really big mix on how the traffic lights work. I actually follow a guy on TikTok who shows the equipment off here in Nashville. A lot of it goes back to the 80s and has not really been updated since then. even the modern hardware that's being put into it are ran on 80s standards. A big chunk of this budget will go to getting that updated, getting some communication going between them, and retiming in a logical way. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Being able to actually go down Hillsborough Road without hitting every red light in a
So
and for those of you who
here's
don't
what's
know,
funny to me.
Hillsborough Road has these little tiny intersections along it all the way, and so sometimes it'll be
Oh yeah, it does.
it'll be literally 20 paces between stoplights at some places, and you'll be like, "Oh, I've got a green," and then you immediately hit another red, and it just causes traffic to go nuts.
So they're just not even planned to coordinate or anything.
Yeah.
So here's what's funny to me about all this, and I'm very happy that Freddie is mayor. I think Freddie got the impression that I didn't like him over the years because he didn't know how to deal with people that would tell you if they were mad at you, but they still like you. But I think Freddie is the perfect mayor for Nashville. I fully intend to see him serve his full limited terms of 2. And I don't know who comes next, but I take great pride in telling people who the mayor of Nashville is up here. It doesn't take long to explain it. He worked his way up as a rep from his district to at large to mayor, and he's also a DJ, and he played New Year's, or was it New Year's or 4th of July? 4th of July, I think.
I can't remember which one. It's one of the two. Yeah.
When your mayor's a DJ and he plays your signature big events, I mean, that's fucking cool. And so I really think he's the right guy. I have seen enough headlines that make me think maybe he's losing the risk factor that I had for him, which was he doesn't know how to be enough of an asshole. I think he's got the right people around him to push the agenda. And obviously this transit thing is part of that. And I think it's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm glad you have it.
This isn't really political, but I did find it hilarious when he was bagging on the Titans and it actually made it to news. Like it was being ran on various news websites, and I think even mentioned on some of our local news stations.
That just proves he's a true Nashvilleian.
Yeah, it was great.
So, yeah, I think that's
by the
good.
way, go
I think
Vandy.
It's ironic that he is doing the smart traffic light thing, because remember a couple of cycles ago, the one like wacko batshit lady that was running for mayor and her whole platform was smart traffic lights. I forgot who she was, but her whole platform was smart traffic lights.
Oh, that lady.
Yeah, it was in the Barry Fox cycle.
Ah, okay.
She was like the third wheel that was getting the third most votes behind Barry and Fox in that cycle. So good for you. Up here, we mostly still have just traffic lights that do. They don't have sensors. They just do.
They just do.
They just do the thing. But the funny part of that is, at least they're coordinated. Like they take a lot of pride in coordinating. Like a lot of people brag around here that like on the major stroads, if you do the speed limit, you can hit the greens because they design it to do that. So that's nice. I do think it's really nice that we have, being on the neighborhood board, we have conversations with the traffic engineer. And I mentioned something to him about when I take the kid to work, the movie theater downtown. I told him I figured out the traffic pattern on the lights, and I figured out how to zigzag through the right sets of lights to not have to wait. There is one block where I have to floor it and be a total hypocrite and speed through the GVSU campus to make the left turn at the green light that affords me the rest of the green lights. But it's because the lights always favor the campus, even on weekends. He was like, they do? And I said, yeah, you can be sitting there at a red light, clearly designed to help empty the campus traffic, but there's nobody there because it's Sunday. And he's like, well, it shouldn't be that way. We should have different programs for different days and different times. I really think the only reason it is that way is laziness on our part. I'm going to go look at that. And I was like, holy shit, a government employee that said laziness on our part out loud and said he'd fix it. And I actually think he did, because I noticed the other day it was different. My silver lining, I have more than you, I guess. So nanny, nanny, boo, boo.
By the way, your girl Myram had a lot of signs out in Brentwood, but she couldn't quite push out
Oh, dude,
Ogles.
I gave up hope at. Yeah, I didn't even look until later, but once North Carolina didn't go well, I knew my angry anti-gun moms in Tennessee weren't going to get the love they deserved. So holy shit, Rob, you're making me think, buddy. The problem with having the chat is that now I'm distracted reading it. So I get more silver linings locally than you guys did, but I'm having a harder time enjoying it. Well, I mean, we're all having a hard time enjoying our silver linings, but we did get what I would call a blitz of the right people winning. So in my ward, Nashville is so much different. So you have a full county integrated government. Technically, we have more people here. But I like to tell people that we have a smaller government in Grand Rapids is much more manageable because there's only 7 elected people and 1 appointed city manager who's technically the top executive of the city. And in Nashville, there are 40 fucking council people and a mayor top executive.
Yep.
And they are governed by a limit to their salary that's in the city charter, unlike the pay the city manager a ridiculous sum of market rate executive pay that we do. So he gets $344K a year. And we have 3 wards with 2 representatives per ward. Now, all of this is the result of an upheaval in 1910. Right here on my side of town, there was a massive riot of labor uprising. And all the rich fuckers decided, well, we don't want them to ever have power again. And so they reformatted everything into 3 wards, 2 representatives. There used to be more wards and or representatives. Anyway, first ward here on my side of town. David, you and I have talked about this at some length. People that have watched the show before have heard me talk about this. There was a dirty race a couple of years ago that kicked out the really great guy that we had using some defamatory dark money outside of town PAC shit. So this time we had a candidate who has become a friend of mine, Alicia Marie Belchak, and she's a working mom. She does consulting as a part-time gig. And the guy that is currently seated is Drew Robbins, who won that somewhat crooked election. He's a young dude. He's a corporate type guy. And we've had a good relationship ever since. Like, he reached out to me after the election. He was ballsy enough to say, let's sit down and have a beer after I had trashed the shit out of him on social media. And I told him that gave me a lot of respect for him. And we see eye to eye on some things like green stuff and makerspace stuff. So it's fine. But with the guy that's leaving office that's turned out, he was kind of a corporate guy, land developer owner. And I thought, I don't want 2 corporate guys. And Alicia Marie was against a corporate lawyer whose entire claim to fame was lots of cases against workers and labor.
Yeah.
And my thinking was, I want the working mom and fuck this corporate shit. This woman won. She had about 11 grand. Dean Pacific, her opponent, had about $63,000. And then the out-of-town dark money PAC sending dirty mailers, including all kinds of misogynistic shit, fat-shaming shit. They sent a mailer out that said something about Alicia Marie's policies stink, but the bold text was like Alicia Marie stink. So like the classic fat people stink gag. Yeah. It was nasty shit. And she didn't just win, she got 56%, which on the west side against a traditional corporate-backed west side guy with all the money from the Chamber of Commerce, the police union, 56% is almost 3,000 more votes than him. She whooped his ass when it comes to west side politics in Grand Rapids. So that was a beautiful thing. On the southeast side, in the 3rd ward, there's been a lot of drama. We've talked about it on the show before. I'm not going to run it down right now. But the inside guy, the business guy, the guy supported by all the big money, lost to the young black queer man opposing him. Now, the guy that lost was the first Asian commissioner, but he was appointed. And he was appointed built on a lie. He said he would not run for the seat. He would simply serve out the term. And then he conveniently changed his mind once he was in office. And that pissed a lot of people off. So he lost. The young black queer representative is now going to take his place. So our local government, out of those 6 elected officials, is going to be 4 out of 6 working people's community organizer, like progressively minded people. That's fucking amazing at a local government level. And then we got a new mayor in the process. Corny enough, his name is David LeGrand. So we get to have that for 4 years. Every time he's on the news, it'll say David LeGrand, mayor of Grand Rapids. But David is a good guy, I think. He is a little bit of an asshole. People have told me, like, why are you supporting him? He's an asshole. I'm like, yes, but so am I. And game recognized game, and I like him. He's very opinionated. He will tell you what he thinks. And I like the idea that I will never leave a city meeting wondering what my mayor thinks. Because right now, Rosalind Bliss is very nice. And you always wonder, what does she really think? David will fucking tell you. I've heard that he is a misogynist, which I don't believe. The person that told me this said, well, he cut me off all the time in our conversation. He cuts everybody off in conversation. By that measure, he doesn't like chubby, white, nerdy guys because I could barely get a word in when we had coffee.
And that's saying something if he's talking to Lucas.
Yeah,
right.
That's impressive.
So he's got a lot of great ideas. He's got a lot of interesting perspectives, and he's a police accountability guy, which around here, given our recent history, is a big deal. So I'm looking forward to that. We got 3 great wins there. We also sent a Democrat to the U.S. Senate in an open seat. We sent our Democratic representative back to the House. So despite Michigan turning red on the national map, we've had a lot of really good silver lining local stuff. So go us, and weed's already
All
legal
right.
here. Ha ha ha.
Now on to the shit.
Yeah, let's dive into the ick. So David and I made this list because, well, first of all, let me own something. One of my favorite. What is the right word here? Oh, hey, Scott's here. Good to see you. I don't know if I should say Scott since you use a different name on your screen name, but oh well. Hey, John, that's Scott in the comments.
Hey, how you doing?
So, I like James Carville.
I don't.
But he was dead wrong.
Yeah.
And so was that.
He normally is.
That fucking professor that has his 13 fucking points about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been right a lot, but
I need to hear from him. And
he's been really fucking quiet.
Yeah, didn't he? I need to hear. I can't remember that dude's name. Let's see.
The keys, the 13 keys.
Yeah, the 13 keys guy. What's his name? Lichtman. That's right. Alan Lichtman. I need to hear from Lichtman. He needs to tell me what the fuck, bro. Now, I didn't think he was right about his 13 keys. In fact,
I've always been a little suspect of his formula.
I'm going to pull that up so we can run it down here in a bit, but I need to hear from him. I need to hear his.
Okay, he has made a statement. I just googled it.
Oh, you found it?
Let's see. Hold on here. It's on. It's on India Times. Let me look. You talk. I'll skim.
India Times. Yeah, I'm going to put myself back in the big box because that could be a scam.
Yes.
So anyway, I need to hear from him. I need to hear from Carville. And you'll be glad to hear that I can't wait to see what Marr has to say for himself. Because all 3 of these fucking guys who I really liked and listened to, I need them to explain to me what they think now that they are dead.
It's kind of funny because I don't like any of those people.
Dead fucking wrong. Carville, for me, has officially jumped the shark at this point. Carville, I will no longer...
He jumped the shark a long time ago.
Yeah, but he was still nailing some things. He's so far off now. I'm like, nah, buddy, go back. Somebody wheel Grandpa back into the gumbo room because he is done.
No.
All right, I got the summary of this thing. So during the the election coverage that night, he did a 6-hour YouTube live stream. During that, he was visibly fatigued, stressed, and disappointed by the election outcome, commenting, "Good thing I have nothing to do tomorrow, and I'm not doing any interviews because the democracy is gone."
Oh, well, that's true.
It basically said once democracy is gone, it's almost impossible to recover. And later he stated that basically his keys can't account for a failure of democracy.
That is somewhat fair.
Kind of
Yeah.
playing both sides a little bit, though. Like,
Yeah.
yes, now the keys are useless, but before, I want to know why you told us you had it nailed. Since we're talking about it, I'll pull it up. It's so party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives than after the previous midterm elections. Okay, that was there. No primary contest. There's no serious I think we're going to talk here in a few minutes about that being a weakness.
Yeah.
Incumbent seeking re-election. I think he gave that credit. I think he checked that one. And I don't know if he should have. I don't know if you can apply incumbent seeking re-election to an
Vice
inherited
president
campaign. Yeah.
You shouldn't get that credit if he did that.
No third party should also have not been credited because Stein and RFK were variables. I am not, for those that might be watching and about to click the red button and sign off because I'm going to blame Stein. I'm not blaming Stein. I have some bones to pick about Stein in my own state, but Stein didn't fucking single-handedly fuck this up like
the margins
Florida.
were higher than were that. Like, in other words, even if all those third-party votes had gone to Harris, in many of these places, she still would have lost. So that's not the problem. I think the mentality behind Stein, I think, is a problem, and I'm kind of going to get into that.
Yeah, his economic stuff cannot apply, and we're going to talk about why. But strong short-term economy and strong long-term economy, he has not accounted for stupidity, gullibility, and the silos of information. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about the economy. Major policy change. Incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. I can't think of any. I don't know if he gave that to them or not. No social unrest. There is no sustained social unrest during the term. He gave that as a credit. I don't think that's right. I've had a theory that World War III will never happen and that we've been in perpetual World War III on an international scale for most of my adult life. I don't
quite agree with you, but I mean, it's not peaceful.
I also feel that we have been in a second civil war for a lot of the last 10 years or more because we will not do that the same way. We will do it digitally.
We won't. We won't do it digitally. We won't do it digitally.
And that's a whole separate topic. But my point being, like, I don't know if he can just mark social unrest off the list.
Basically, he made the keys work because he wanted to believe.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. No scandal. Yeah. Okay, fine. That's true. I mean, there's not enough Viagra in the world to generate a scandal for Biden. No foreign, like he'd have to have an IV anyway. No foreign or military failure. I think he marked that one against them. I hope he did because people really fucking held Afghanistan withdrawal against them.
Which I mean, it's stupid because that was Trump, but the Biden
major foreign or military success.
This is one of those things that just pisses me off about fucking Democrats is they refuse to they just surrender the ground every single time.
You're absolutely right.
We didn't do it. No, and getting everyone to say it again and again and again and do it louder and harder than the Republicans somehow, for some fucking reason, even though it's the fucking truth, they want to sit there and be like, oh, we don't want to offend anyone. Shut the fuck up and offend some people.
Mm-hmm.
These people aren't going to vote for you. Say the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is fucking stupid. I don't fucking understand how the fuck we lose on the point of Afghanistan when we're not the ones who fucking did it. We didn't sign a treaty with the Taliban. Trump did.
That's true.
And then didn't even enforce it.
And they didn't. Like this kind of goes back to, I mean, my mantra forever, and it's something that doesn't play terribly well with West Michigan Nice, but I'm often pointing out to people like the pansy ass Democratic approach. And
It
it's
really is.
constant.
The problem is it is pansy ass. And you know, what little discussion we had before the show in the week leading up to the show. That was one of my major points, was that, you know, asking Democrats to be bold somehow is an order too tall again and again and again and again.
And that's a top-down problem. It really is.
It is a top-down problem.
I gotta tell you,
agree, it is a top-down problem.
I had a handful of
say no, and hold the line. And I get where some of the thinking is, which is governing isn't sexy. Governing is about responsibility. It's about sometimes doing the tough thing, even if it hurts. I get it. The problem is that when is that you can't govern if you can't even agree that 2 + 2 = 4. That at that point that's out the window. You have to address the 2 + 2 = 4 issue before you can govern.
I had a handful of clients in the political realm this season. One was a donation in support, and the other one was a fully paid gig outside my own area. Because my whole thing is, if I'm your constituent, I will donate something to you if I support you. I can't do all my work for free, but I will donate something. The one that was outside my space, one of his mailers, I was so happy when he came to me and asked me to do this. The headline was, "The rent is too damn high. Current leadership knows it, but their handlers benefit from it, so we suffer for their gain." And I was just like, bro, thank you for fucking saying it. Because so many people are pussy about that stuff. And I know I'm going to get the fucking word police, pussy, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But, like, really, the pansy ass, like, weak-willed, spineless response from Democrats, never fucking saying what needs to be said. And I was so glad to see him ask for that wording. And then we dove in. I mean, electing the same leaders and expecting different results never works. They've already priced us out of home ownership. Now they're pricing us out of rentals. How are we supposed to realize the American dream? I was like, dude, where have you been my whole life? And where can we teach the rest of the Democrats to be like you?
Still tame and mild. I want to address something that Patrick Manning just put up. Voters don't care about facts, it seems, or at least not enough of them. Voters do care about facts, but you actually have to stand up for the fact. It can't be, "I'm sorry, sir, that's not correct." No, "I'm sorry, sir, that's not correct." No, "I'm sorry, sir, that's not correct."
You got to drill it into their head.
It has to be, "Listen, you are a fucking lying piece of shit. And I swear to God, someone should break their foot off in your fucking ass, you worthless pile of excrement. I swear to God, I've seen piles of ape shit that were smarter than you, and those had fucking chunks of mice in them. I don't know what the fuck is going on."
Oh my God. So,
I mean,
like,
we have to get up in people's faces and be like, no. And the problem is asking the Democratic leadership to stand up and say, no, that's not true. But it hurts their feelings. Fuck their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've already shown that
you alluded earlier,
literally just standing up for someone else's rights and saying, please don't attack someone,
right,
is a bridge too far for some of these fucking snowflakes.
You're right. And it alludes to what you said earlier about the democratization of feelings. Like, we live, unfortunately, in a time when the way people feel about shit has been overriding all reason, logic, and fact. And a lot of the things that we're about to talk about here. So, you know, I mentioned Carville because this phrase comes from Carville. It's the economy, stupid, is what he famously coined.
And we're going to get there because
we talk about it like we say it's whatever, stupid. We fill in the blank now. It's a reference.
But we're
But
going to talk about how we talk about the economy. I think is one
yeah.
of the key factors that has to be discussed.
Well, we decided to work our way up to the biggest factors. We put them in order. So Biden is our first factor. Now, David, you suggested that one. I want you to go first on that front. I
So, I mean,
will
here's the
then
problem,
throw my 2 cents.
someone mentioned it earlier in the comments, and I really want to harp on this. Biden promised to be a transitional president. He had one, besides fixing whatever happened during COVID, which is a tall fucking order, I know. His other major goal was to groom and promote a successor to immediately follow him. The acknowledgement was at the beginning, hey, I'm long in the tooth. And for those of you who that might be an older expression or an archaic expression, I'm too old. There was that acknowledgement when he got elected the first time. The thing that makes me so angry about Biden, and the thing is, it is true of the majority of the Democratic leadership, which is they are so proud of themselves. They literally think their shit smells like roses. They think that they fart fucking Chanel #9. I am so fucking tired of them thinking that literally they've got the answer. They
they're
obviously
huffing
haven't.
said farts. They are huffing those farts out of the jar or the bag they could grab to catch them in. Like
It's a
that's
coffee can.
coffee can.
And I'll tell you why they think this way is because so many of them go in is we've allowed a stratification inside the party so much of a hyper wealthy segment of society. Because here's the thing, you have two choices when you have more money than sense. You can either continue to demand more money, which they're all going to do, but demand more money and fuck the consequences. Or you can feel kind of guilty that, oh, gee, I have so much money and these people don't have as much. We should do things to help them. But the problem is again, you have more money than sense. Your sense does not equal the amount of money that you have. And so these people are, when the Democratic leadership, and I can definitely say this from a lot of the Democratic leadership here in Tennessee, why is the Democratic leadership in Tennessee so fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Flaccid? Impotent. There we go.
I was going to say limp-wristed, but that one got me in trouble with a group of other parent activists.
Yeah,
in the school system. Limp
why
dick.
are they so why are they so impotent? And the reason is because they're sitting in Nashville clubs talking to other rich people saying, "Oh, well, this is what we need to do for outreach." You don't know. You haven't worked a day in your fucking lives. None of you. You have no idea, and you do nothing for recruitment from down below.
David, don't you think this is similar to the thing that happened right after Obama was elected and after the ACA vote? Because I think that's Tennessee experienced what I think is a Democratic DNA problem. You had representatives that just pieced the fuck out after they voted for the ACA.
Because they pissed off their rich friends.
Yeah.
Well, not just
Because
their
they
rich
pissed off their
friends.
rich
I think they lacked the willingness to go pull the hay bale trailer up in the town square, Lincoln Davis,
And
Bart
tell the
Gordon,
truth.
where they were, and say, ladies and gentlemen, I get it. You don't know what to make of the fact that the president is a black guy. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter because he's for the working man. Are you a working man? Okay. Like they didn't get out there and own it. Instead, they were like, I'm going to pass healthcare and then white shadow.
I mean, well, no, it was entirely because they pissed off their rich friends. And the problem with the DNC leadership, I truly believe, is that it's become nearly hopelessly moored to people who are not from any sort of working class background. The DNC, and it's kind of funny that it's a little bit of a role reversal in that for so long, Republicans prided themselves on being the party of educated people, even if they lost elections. Now the Democrats are the party of educated people. But the problem is that now they're back in the same place that the Republicans were and losing elections. And the reason they're losing elections that they shouldn't fucking lose is because they're not talking to working class people in the now in their minds they are. And here's the thing: the sad part, and we're going to get into this, is they're making better proposals. This isn't like even when the Republicans were now that the Republicans are in power, they're not making proposals that are good for working class people. When the Democrats were for working class people, they were making good proposals for working class people. They're still making good proposals for working class people.
But they don't know how to message it. They don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to market it. They don't know how to stand on it. They don't know how to be proud of it. And whenever someone comes along that tries to tell them anything differently, there's so much fucking horseshit dogma, party horseshit dogma that stands in their way, and they can't get out of it.
And the problem is that when Biden by 12 months in hadn't anointed a successor, someone from the party, and this is another thing, and that proves where Biden was so fucking wrong. Biden got mad at Harris. Biden was upset at Harris with the idea that she was going to launch her presidential campaign from Observatory House. That she was going to usurp him. Well, I don't want you using this as a fucking launch pad. I don't want you trampling on me. Your pride means nothing, you old withered fart. Death
Here's the thing.
knows thy name and comes soon. The rest of us have to fucking deal with what happens next.
Shit.
Oh, that's fire.
So, like, here's the funny part of it. I just talked about this earlier on the porch.
Seriously, he's driving around like the lost Uber driver right now, trying to find you, Biden.
With the
was it 4? Was it 5?
With the friend I was talking to on my porch earlier, we talked about that. Like, Biden, for a few weeks, got to be viewed as a hero for stepping out of the way, and at the end of the story, gets to go down recorded as a chump in history. He gets to go down recorded as a dumbass that didn't know when to leave. He could have been the hero in certainty had he stuck with his one-term pledge. Now it'll be 20 years before people quit talking shit about him, just like Carter. And it'll be another 20 years of people realizing that he did good things and thanking him for it, just like Carter. The difference is he's old as dirt and won't be here anymore.
Grandstands at Yankee Stadium. Okay?
Piss?
Yes, that is correct, Bush. Piss. Urine.
I think it's really, really unfortunate because his own, whatever the fuck it is, ego, desire to be on Mount Rushmore. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but whatever it is, it stood in his way, and he has sabotaged his own legacy.
I agree.
I also want to reply real quick to Olivia's comment that Bernie threw shit. Bernie was not dead the fuck on. Bernie is trying to somehow build his own fucking legacy right now. Bernie needs to shut the fuck up.
I don't know about that.
No,
maybe not. I'm going to fall in the middle on that statement. I don't agree completely with you, David.
Bernie's got a point.
No, here's the problem. I know we're kind of jumping to our last point a little bit beforehand, but I'm going to jump in here. The proposals that Harris made were good working class proposals. These were all very good for working class people. None of what Trump has proposed is good for working class people.
No,
none
of
it.
The working class
literally,
people. Big time.
Literally, I'm being very clear on this. Not a single line of what he has proposed is good for anyone except the hyper wealthy. But what Harris didn't do, and this is I'm going to kind of come back to this theme a little bit. What Harris didn't do was propose something revolutionary. Like when Trump came out with the whole "we're not going to tax tips." Now, I'm going to be honest. I work in the service industry. The only tips we tax are when they're on credit card or what you declare.
But isn't
A
that
lot of
a
places
lot
don't
of
even.
them though?
What?
I mean, I can't remember the last time I tipped in cash.
There's a
A
lot of people
lot
that
of
do tip in cash intentionally
And
because
they
of this
will
reason.
well, and
sometimes. But
I'm gonna tell
like,
you, coming from a tourist area, a lot of people tip in cash.
okay,
I'm
take your
used
word
to
for it.
what let's be very clear. A bartender on Broadway is probably coming out in cash tips alone, not the credit card tips, just the cash tips, at probably about $120,000 a year.
Okay.
And none of that comes out in in taxes because they don't declare any of it.
Well, and Alicia pointed out in the chat, I purposely tip in cash for that reason, and so yeah, and I understand that people do that, and I try if I have cash to do that, but I'm not carrying a lot of cash that often. Now, I do keep a certain amount of cash. I'm not I try not to be like a total mark for guys that are panhandling, but I am aware that panhandling is not automatically a scam. And so I try to keep a little cash in my pocket so I can slip a buck or two to the people that are struggling more than me. But as far as the general tipping in cash, it's not always practical. So I know what people do it, but I'm kind of shocked if it's a regular thing. And so I'm a little surprised.
It's a regular thing for a lot of people. It's a regular thing
Yeah.
for a lot of
Okay,
people
cool.
to tip in
I'm
cash.
glad it is, but I do think Trump's no tax on overtime thing was a big hook.
But he wants to get rid
of overtime. So
Yeah, he wants
that's
to get
the
rid of
joke
overtime
in
anyway.
that.
It's a
Yeah,
bullshit.
right.
It's a bullshit thing. It's a throwaway statement. I mean, this entire
But
thing.
people are stupid, and we'll talk about this. But people are stupid, and
But
they buy
I
it.
mean, again, my problem with Sanders is like this idea that Harris didn't talk to working class people is bullshit.
I don't know,
Harris
man.
did talk to working class people. The problem is that she didn't throw out. Here's the problem. She tried to put out a responsible, fiscally sound idea of what to do. And the problem is, and we're kind of moving into the second point, which is anger, right? A lot of people are angry. They want to hear that revolutionary idea. They want to hear that that throwing your dick out on the table fucking mantra. They want to hear you're going to do something to fuck things up because a
But
lot of people are
did
very,
Trump
very
give
angry.
them that idea, other
Well, I
than
mean,
his
saying
general
I'm not going to
chaos?
tax your tips doesn't. I mean, to a lot of people, saying I'm not going to tax your tips makes a lot of sense. And if you tell that to most servers, that seems to make a lot of sense until you actually walk them through. Do you actually pay taxes on a lot of your tips? That's right. I have to regularly remind servers that, hey, if you don't declare your tips and you don't get taxed on them, I know some servers who are like, yeah, I'm starting to get a lot better about declaring my tips. Why? Because that determines your Social Security check when you get old.
I'd like to amplify what Darlene just said in the comments. She mentioned that she only had 180 days.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to being a part of Biden's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, for not getting the fuck out of the way, not doing his transition, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very disappointed that he didn't stick with his one-term mantra.
No, he looked at the American people and he said, "Fuck you. I'm too important to lose."
Well, and the notion that I'm the only guy that can beat him, really though, because like if you'd gotten out of the way, we could have put even the most slimy, slick ass fucking like Gavin Newsom would have put up more of a fight. He'd be slick and the kind of brand that people don't necessarily love, but he probably could have whooped his ass, and he's about to. We'll get to that later. Yeah, so I still think he's got to own it. And there are a lot of people bantering today about how angry some people are that tried to say you got to step out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the
and I also
anger.
want to say,
But David, are you ready for your next? Because I just finished.
I mean,
and then
we kind of touched on the anger, but like, let's go ahead and
beer,
move
David.
on.
Beer. Your
What?
next
Oh, beer.
beer.
Oh,
Fluids,
Jesus
imbibing.
Christ! Remember the theme of the show.
What's sliding down your throat hole this hour?
I just opened the next one and then I smelled it.
don't tempt me with a good time, Bush.
And
Pull
now
your
I'm
pipe out and we'll see what can happen.
God. I am unwilling to wait for the next beer because I've smelled it. So I'm going to jump in.
All right,
David
fine.
and I are
I'm
drinking
opening
the
it. I'm
same
opening it.
beer. This is from the care package that David assembled to be sent up here to me so that we could share in some of the brews.
And I knew he would like this one.
Dude, I have not sipped it yet because I wanted to be genuine and live in the review, but if the nose is an indicator, you fucking won. All right,
Wow.
Yeah, this is the this is the 903 Brewing Turned Down for What? And oh my God, the nose on this fucking thing. So this
It is sugary as fuck. This
double
Bush, you have
imperial
any inspo
milk
to share?
stout. I'm going to read it off the can.
Maybe
Our
it is.
latest imperial stout is a nostalgic treat that'll take your taste buds down memory lane. This peanut butter candy and vanilla ice cream soft serve inspired imperial stout is reminiscent of our favorite afternoon frozen dessert from years past. The flavors of peanut butter candy, milk chocolate, and vanilla ice cream are blended and swirled throughout, and a malty chocolate based stout, transporting your mind to a simpler time with these big flavors. 10% alcohol, pairs with
90%
steak
sugar.
fingers, poutine, and small town vibes. I love it,
Dude.
All right.
Steak
I
fingers
have to
and
be honest.
poutine.
This is a liquid roofie.
Can you confirm that, Lucas?
Oh shit. Oh my God.
If you gave me like 6 of these, I would pound them all back and then I would like completely be like gone. Because again, this is 10%. It has no alcohol bite. It has nothing. It just tastes
Bastard.
like.
How did you find this? What the fuck?
I went to Reds because Reds finds all the weird shit.
I hate you.
This is fucking amazing.
It is. This is the opposite of that Lucky Charms beer that we both experienced live at the same time and hated. This is 100% the opposite direction of that. I don't know how the fuck this is not broken 4 in its averages on Untapped. Because I'm ready to go in there and slam this fucker a 4.5.
Yeah.
This is a good fat kid beer. I tell you what, damn. Something good came out of Texas this week, and it wasn't electoral.
Yeah. So is that extremely high on its sugar content, like in its flavor profile?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it is
It's pure sugar.
Basically, they must have shoved like the entire field into this shit.
They're not joking in that description, John. This thing, it tastes like if you were to ask for a peanut butter chocolate milkshake. It really tastes like it's the same.
I'd give that a go.
Yeah, it's the same damn thing. Like, I'm not picking up booziness, even though it's at 10%. And
no, it has no alcohol bite.
Yeah, like it goes down like a peanut butter chocolate cream soda. It's incredible. I'm kind of mad that it's from Texas, to be honest with you. Like,
I mean, they get things right, food
they
and
do.
wise.
This
I mean, you
is
got to give them that
fair.
credit.
Yeah, they do.
They have to put their passion somewhere because it sure as hell isn't politically.
I wonder. Wait, hold on. So it's 903. Where exactly are they? That's the question. Let's find that out. Maybe they're in
903
somewhere
area code.
redeemable, like Austin. Uh, Sherman. Where the fuck is Sherman, Texas?
It's northeastern.
Why the fuck do you know that?
Because I googled 903 area code and the AI overview says it's
Oh,
northeastern.
He was already
sensible
ahead of
answer.
us. Oh, it's above
Hey,
Dallas.
the pipe is out.
It's above Dallas. It's almost in Oklahoma. None of this makes sense. These people are
So
blowing
for
my
those
mind.
of you who can't see the private chat, Bush is chastising me for smoking cigarettes again. So I brought the pipe out.
Oh, I was wondering what all that. I saw the private chat blowing up, and I was like, "What the fuck are they talking?" I'm over here trying to make a point, and John's drawing text dicks.
With a moist pile in front of it. Don't shortchange me.
Right, absolutely. Oh boy! All right. So knowing that there are several people tuned in right now that love a good fat kid dessert beer, fucking A, go get yourself some 903 turned down for what? When I'm done with the show and I go rate this, it may land among my greatest hits in Untapped.
No, this is seriously one of it is exactly like a milkshake.
Is the best thing that's happened to me all week. Now I know that bar is low given the election turnout, but Jesus, it's fucking incredible. All right, back to the topic at hand. Anger was your next bullet point in that, David. Which anger though? Because like Trump's people have been angry since like forever, and they used to just sit in their trailer park and not vote, and then he fucking shows up. But
I think the anger has to do with the fact that things keep on getting worse, and to me, so originally when we discussed this, Lucas threw the Latino men kind of in between. The anger and the inflation in prices are very closely linked, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think there's a lot of anger, and there remains a lot of anger about the fact that it feels like a lot of for most Americans, I think there's a large feeling of abandonment from leadership. There is a history of at least some level, like at least your representative or maybe even your senator, being very closely tied to the community. And I can tell you that as more and more money has entered the system, as more and more, as the economic divide continues to increase, and as candidates, one of the big things I think that has really hurt things is the amount of money required to run for office. Right,
For real.
both candidates spent nearly $1 billion, including the PAC money that Trump had coming his way. Both candidates spent well north of probably $2 billion on this
do
campaign.
you remember? Was it David Briley's first cycle or was it Dean? Carl Dean. I forgot which cycle it was that it was big news that Nashville had crested the $1 million mark for a mayoral election. It was some years ago.
It was Dean.
Was it Dean? Yeah. And then here in Grand Rapids, 2 years ago, in that cycle where Kurt Reppert got screwed, the big news was that you used to be able to get elected to a city commission role here on $4 or $5 grand, like, regular people money. You could go to the fucking bank and like put your car up for that or whatever. Like normal people could access it. And all of a sudden, Kurt Reppert got his ass handed to him on a lie platform to the tune of $65,000. And then in this cycle just now, one of the biggest reasons it's a big deal that Alicia Marie won is that she had 11 grand. The opponent has 63 grand, and that's just his money, not counting the dirty ass PAC. So the big news in Grand Rapids was like, holy fuck, it takes 50 grand to be a city commissioner now. Hopefully we have slowed that down and reversed that trend. But you're right. Like it's insane. And it all leads into my little theory of like, I would love, I know this is never going to fucking happen in my lifetime. I would love to reform elections to where there is nothing.
Well, I
but
mean,
public
so many people have pointed
resource.
out that.
Well, hold on, David.
Issue,
Wait a minute. It's Lucastopia time. Damn it.
fair enough.
In Lucastopia, there's nothing but public funding and support for elections. No private donors at all.
Well,
if you
in
have an
Davidtopia-
FCC license and you want to keep that license and have nothing bad happen to you on the way to the car, then you're going to give away a certain amount of fucking advertising to every fucking candidate that meets a certain threshold. We'll figure whatever that out is.
Well, I think in Davidtopia, the answer is no money may be spent on your campaign or in support of your campaign, except during a limited 3 to 4 month window.
I'm intrigued by your ideas, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter. What do you really mean?
So here's the thing. There's only so much money you can spend in that amount of time. You can't buy every ad. You can't buy everything. So in other words, I can have a war chest.
I don't know. Tell that to YouTube pre-roll. Fucking A.
Right? But you can't buy everything.
That's true.
So
okay, I could see that. Could
so
be a thing.
If I can't spend any money in support of a candidate, right? Until 4 months before the election or 3 months before the election, then the amount of money that goes into this process is curtailed. In other words, I don't have to. Because here's the thing: trying to tell people you can't donate to this or that or the other. That's never going to work. That's always going to hit all sorts of free speech problems. Now, telling corporations they can't donate, yeah, you can do that because fucking A, corporations don't have free speech. Citizens United is patently wrong. It flies in the face of all the rest of American jurisprudence, all the rest of common law jurisprudence. But if you limit the amount of time that you have to spend on a candidate, then it doesn't I'm not going to put $1 billion in for 4 months. Right? That doesn't make any sense because at that point that you start an inevitably disastrous arms race of, oh, well, today's political ad cost you $100 million. Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do it.
Unfortunately, y'all both have great suggestions, but Elon Musk is going to make sure when he partners up with Trump that none of these things will ever happen. It will be only corporations will be donating massive amounts. They'll have minimums.
Yeah. I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibility. It's terrifying. And somebody actually mentioned this earlier. I was watching the CNN punditry through the middle of the day, and they pointed out everybody's wringing their hands over these cabinet appointments and shit. But really, the bottom line is Trump's going to bring in people that are going to do his will, and they're going to execute the boss's orders, even if they disagree with it, because they're loyal and they're corporate types. And that's what they do. That's what they know how to do. And it doesn't matter if you're cabinet or not. What matters is if you have his ear. And Bobby Jr. and Musk have his ear. And that's as good or better than cabinet.
I don't think Bobby Musk actually has his ear.
Bobby Musk? That's terrifying.
No,
Please don't
Bobby
ever
Musk,
say that out loud.
I don't think. Whatever.
What's in that bowl?
I fucking hate it. I don't even like the fact that I'm opening software right now to see what AI does with that proposition.
Oh, no. Please share. I need to see this.
Damn it, Bobby.
So let's get into the anger thing a little bit, right? When you say anger, what's coming to your mind first, David? And then I want to hear the same from John.
So, I mean, what I'm thinking is a lot of people feel very abandoned. They feel it's something that I've talked about before, and it's this accelerationist idea, which is burn the whole fucking thing down. I would argue that it's one of the big impetus behind crypto, which I know is one of Bush's fun little toys.
I'm pretty distant from it at this point.
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. That's different.
He done growed up, okay?
Yay.
I done made my nut and got my house. I'm good. I'm not gambling anymore.
There you go.
But it's crypto. It's all. There's a lot of accelerationist mentality of burn the whole fucking thing down. It doesn't work right. We'll just destroy it all, and someone will put it back together fine afterwards. And it's stupid because the destruction that would be wrecked is beyond belief. Wrought, not wrecked. I mean, things will be wrecked. The destruction that'll be wrought. It's beyond belief. I mean, the number of people who will lose jobs, the amount of the futures that would be lost in America would be monumental. But they're angry. They want someone to pay for the fact that this system doesn't work, and they'll lash out at whatever they can. And they're right. The system doesn't work right now. The system is ridiculously fucking broken. And I think when we get to the end, I'm going to talk about why the system is broken and where issues are. But I think Trump feeds that anger very well. He's a very easy touchstone for anger. You can preach hope all the fuck you want. But the problem is if people don't already have that kernel of hope, it's falling on deaf ears. I feel like if Bernie Sanders wants to be honest about where the disconnect with the working class happened, I think that the true answer is Harris and their thinking, preaching a message of hope was more responsible and better than preaching a message of burn it all the fuck down. And I think that's right. I think that's a correct assumption. I think that's a correct strategy. But it doesn't assuage where people are emotionally. It doesn't meet people. It doesn't meet people at that point where they're like, I'm so tired of everything being broken. I'm so tired of living in a world where every day my paycheck buys less. I'm so tired of living in a world where I can't afford to house myself. I can't afford transportation. I can't afford medicine. I can't afford all these things. And the thing is, the canaries have literally been falling down in the coal mine left and right for 10 years. And the issue that happens is when you try and meet them in a place of this is what we can logically, reasonably, and rationally do without blowing up the whole fucking thing. That's not where people are emotionally. And I think Harris approached it as this is where I can meet you all. And that's not where a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are, blame someone, burn it all the fuck down, and we'll it is very much kill them all, let God sort them out. I think is where a lot of people are, especially when you're on the lower end of the income spectrum and the lower end of the education spectrum. I mean, I may not be at the top of the income spectrum, but I'm much higher on the education spectrum. So I look at things from one perspective of, oh shit, blowing shit up is bad. This is very, very, very bad.
Don't you think though that a lot of it figures into the same old classic shit where the right likes to tell people that if you just support us and all of our bullshit, you'll get rich too, or all that mythology that they tend to peddle.
I think in its own way, the left does say the same story in its own way. It says if you support us, you'll be comfortable. The right says you'll get rich, but really, I think what most people are thinking in their head is, well, I may not get rich, but at least I'll be comfortable. Right? I think that it's really two sides of the same coin. Both sides are always saying you'll do better under us.
Yeah, But there's a gullibility that tends to come with the right wing.
Well, because
voter.
what they don't.
I
No, go for it.
think that's a misconception. I don't think that gullibility comes with right wing. I think gullibility comes with people in general, especially if you start looking at the average and then going down from there. There's gullible elements on all political sides. I mean, think about this. What percentage of the Democrats, what percentage of the left this time were confident that, you know what, it's all going to be okay. We're going to win. I think that was gullible. I heard that from a lot of people, including myself. I will put myself in that list.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, I did feel pretty good about shit. I'll give him. I'll say that. Didn't take long for that to change. But
No. It was a very quick change.
I also want to say, I want to give this quick aside. This whole idea of, like we got caught in this whole echo chamber again. No, there wasn't an echo chamber. There was no echo chamber. We were prepared for the fucking echo chamber this time. We were all looking around, being like, okay, where's the downside? Where's the detractor? Where are they? We keep on hearing like, oh, you all got stuck in an echo chamber. No, these people generally just didn't want to talk to anyone. These are not people who do talk to anyone. That's part of why they end up being conservative voters, is because they're low information voters. One of the saddest things that I've heard that really just makes me want to beat my head against a fucking wall is how many people Googled, did Joe Biden drop out?
And what is
The
Project
day
2025?
of the election.
Both of those had huge upticks on Google searches.
Do what?
Yeah.
On Google search, correct. Did Joe Biden drop out? After people were voting, they were searching that because they were wondering why he wasn't on the ballot. And then there was a huge uptick on what is Project 2025. People trying to learn about both of these things for the first time after election night. And
that's wild to me, because when I first heard about Project 2025, my first thought was, oh, the Democrats are going to fuck this up and they're not going to tell anybody about it and they're not going to make it a big deal. And then literally all we heard about for fucking 3 months was Project 2025, maybe 6 months. They really beat that into people and people still didn't notice it.
Here's the thing, is that it wasn't an echo chamber. We literally, the number of low information voters that showed up to cast ballots was absolutely fucking tragic.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't blame the Harris campaign or the pollsters or anyone else for what happened on Tuesday. I don't think any of us can, because literally we got mobbed by a bunch of fucking morons.
Well, that's a good piece of it, but that probably leads into the inflation in prices. I do want to talk about Latino men real quick, but I did do the thing. I took a dive while you were talking and went down to the gates of hell, and I made some requests, and I have come back with the spoils.
Oh God!
No! This is how AI responds. Well, this is one of many options, but this is the best one to me. This is how AI responds when you ask it to merge Elon Musk and RFK Jr.
I really want to train like a AI voice model on both of their voices and see what we could cook up.
What's really funny is
Lucas. Never do that again. We have not had enough alcohol.
So here's the thing:
there is not enough alcohol been consumed yet. I am only on my third double-digit beer.
Let me tell you,
I need at least 7 of those before I can look at that shit again.
So before we move on from anger, I do kind of want to
hold on. Let me explain. I selected the best option from several choices.
I don't.
Can we get the
and
worst?
I need to tell you, I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's good or bad, but AI tools seem unaware of the existence of RFK Jr. I noticed that it insisted on combining Elon Musk with RFK. Which I don't know what to think about any of that. Even AI has looked at RFK Jr. and said, "La la 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 la." You know you done fucked up when AI doesn't want to hear what you got
we
to
do
say.
not acknowledge those infected with brainworms as
Oh my God.
actual human beings anymore.
So John, I do want to ask you before we leave anger, because I think we know somebody, and I'm not going to give it away, but I think you know who I'm talking about, that went all the way down the Trump rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And when I think about this individual, I know that anger is a word I would, if you were to just run up to me and say their name and say, "Give me 5 words that describe," I would use the word anger at some point.
Yeah, it would be in there.
But that leads me to like I understand what somebody that's making $40K a year and can't seem to get ahead. I understand their anger. This individual, I can't find a reason for anger. And so I'm interested in what you would say about people in that zone that are doing well. They own a home. They got plenty of vehicles. They got a good life going on. They got a good salary. The fuck do they have to be angry about?
So thank you for bringing this up. This actually touches on at least part of what I wanted to talk about. Whether right or wrong, this is something that's happening out there. And it's a big part of that voting group. You have average white males that are taking in some of this basic ass shit. They're taking in that red-pilled podcast. They're taking in all that content like Joe Rogan and such, and then stuff way worse than Joe Rogan. They feel like they no longer have a voice. They feel like they're going to be eliminated from society. Mm-hmm. They feel like they're being left behind, as Olivia just said, to amplify her. So they get in their head and it just starts festering and they stay so angry. And here's a key part. They lie to themselves and they believe that shit. They say, "I'm not racist. I'm not hateful. You know, this and this is based on fact." And they'll cherry pick little bits of data from the special news that they watch. They'll also do things like, I mean, I'm sure, you know, we're all familiar with the term hate fuck. They will hate fuck CNN and then use that as an excuse to be like, "But I watch CNN. I don't just watch Newsmax."
Right.
First of all, if you even touch Newsmax, I'll give an example. This happened a little bit ago. I'm on a date, and she starts. We start talking current events, right? Because I forget what we ended up. She thought I was really smart about economics or something. She's like, "Oh wow, you sound really smart about this." But what do you think about what they said on Newsmax? I literally looked at her and was just like,
"Check, please."
Oh no!
I'm surprised you didn't just get up and leave.
I swear to God,
let her have the check. Like, I'm surprised.
I walked back up to the bar. Away. I grabbed 2 shots. He's like, "Oh, you brought me a shot." I'm like, No, I didn't.
I've been with you at bars. I know what just happened. She said that, and he went.
Yep, that's
David's
exactly
1-1 is a PBR and a shot of Fireball.
To the bartender, and the bartender knew what to do.
Speaking of Newsmax, on election night, I went and borrowed one of those DirecTV stream boxes from my grandmother because I don't subscribe to any type of thing like cable or satellite. I've been a cord cutter for like 15 years, if not longer. And the reason why I did this is because they have an app built into those boxes on their channel guide. You can click on it. It was just an election coverage, and it'll show you 4 different news stations plus the Associated Press stats on the left. So you can watch 2 left and 2 right stations at the same time, and you can toggle between them to change the audio, but you're always keeping that visual content on your screen. Well, I had CNN and CNBC on the left, and then the options for the right coverage was Fox and Newsmax. And that shit was fucking rough. and I'm not talking about Fox. Like, I could handle the Fox, like, because you can expect it and you know what it is. And it's fine for what it is. But Newsmax was just, it was from another planet, from a shitty planet. But
Damn.
it kind of just blew my mind the whole time. Like, because occasionally I would do it, like when CNN or CNBC would go to a news break, I'd be like, you know what? I just want to see what they're saying. It was insanity.
Yeah. Well, let me like, this is not a devil's advocate issue. This is just part of me, like,
Hi, Viper.
checking this out. Oh yeah, we do have a couple of new folks.
I sent
tuning in.
some ads out when
We didn't say hi to Patrick. We
need
should
dumb
say hi
bushes
to
or hype
Patrick,
men.
and then Viper, hello. So here's the thing, and I expect this to render. You've both known me for a long time, so you're not going to be shocked by any of this, but I expect this to render argument. When we discuss the male voting demographic, and we discuss the phenomenon that you brought up, John, about, feeling left behind or whatever, I understand the trip up that's going on. And I'm a big proponent of recognizing when we've slammed against the other guardrail. So I want to start with something that I've been dealing with here locally with our school system. I have introduced the phrase to the dialogue that's going on, and we did just have an election, and we did just win a couple of seats that are going to give us a majority of people that are going to be forward thinking, and the conversation is going to maybe change a little bit, but something that I've asked the black leaders in the school board bubble who I could actually speak with about this subject, because I recognize I'm a white dude, I'm a laid off white dude, but I still don't have the hardships of the average black American. And so what I've tried to explain to people is this is something that I am unqualified due to my life experience to examine. But a phrase comes to mind that I need you to hear me say, and then talk me through what you think about it. And what I say to them is, power once denied has become power corrupted. And what I mean when I explain that to them is, we have a city that has a history of shutting out black folks from power. We have a school system in which most of the powerful high positions happen to be black folks. They earned it. They got there. I'm glad. But now we have a system that is permissively looking the other way when those same leaders do bad shit.
Hi, David. Hi, David.
We do
Thank
see
you for
you.
coming.
We know you're here. So what, to me, that clocks as an overcorrection. In Grand Rapids, in this example, black folks have been denied power, denied a seat at the table. Now they have it. That's excellent. That's necessary, important, and should happen. But now we are allowing bad shit to go unchecked. I analogize it to Israel. Holocaust bad. Netanyahu doing whatever the fuck he wants also should be bad. But we have a worldwide free pass given. I apply the same thing to women leaders. You criticize women leaders and all of a sudden you're sexist. But no, I don't give a fuck what gender or color you are. If you're fucking up, I'm going to tell you about it. If you're being corrupt, I'm going to call it out. And what I'm wondering is, in the same ways that we've slammed against the other guardrail, we've given a lot of latitude to folks that are not privileged enough to be cis white people. Oh, that's weird. David, your camera's off. If you thought you were hiding yourself for a pee break, you have failed, sir.
I'm going for a pee break.
I have a button for that. There we go. So so the thing that I've noticed is we tend to slam against the other guardrail. My God, they've all left me. I'm just by myself. No, wait.
You can bring it back.
So Darlene, that's I don't know because I'm not there right now, but Darlene points out, like, maybe that is why black politicians in Nashville don't do anything. I don't know what you mean when you say don't do anything, so feel free to expand. But my problem here is that I feel like we culturally, and especially on the left, we tend to overcompensate. And what I'm hearing about when we talk about the anger factor in this election, there is a reasonable argument to be considered by men who feel that they've been completely trashed. Now, there are plenty of misogynistic prick assholes that deserve to be called out. I have been personally guilty of plenty of misogynistic prick behavior that deserved to be called out. John was there. He can nod and he can tell you that it's true. And I've had to listen to some people. I've had to own some shit. I think anybody that came of age in the 90s that happens to be a cis white male probably has, just as an entry to the room, an owning of shit that might need to happen.
I agree.
But I feel that the left, I see you, David, just hold it in for a second. I feel that the left has overcompensated, and here's how I feel that. In any given conversation, there's always some fucking grandstanding, virtue signaling fucking prick that wants to nitpick you about a word that you used in passing. And I think the Democratic Party has become the party of the people that will lecture you for 2 hours instead of sticking to the conversation, because you happen to slip an old antiquated reference into the conversation. And all of a sudden you get vilified. And I think we're seeing a pushback in that anger column from people that are tired of being preached to.
Yes.
Instead of conversated with.
I'll agree with you completely. And just from things that I've been watching online, and I'm not talking about like shitty conversations on 4chan, but like legitimate comment sections on Facebook. You know, it could be a YouTube comment section. It could be the comments on like an article. And not hateful stuff, but just like general conversation about this. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, you know, I'm getting pushed to the other side because of what you just described. And I think that a balance needs to be found in a new way of communicating. You can still get that point across without preaching to someone for 2 hours as you described it.
And I know that I personally have been connected to this more than the average bear in some cases, but like so part of what bothers me in this phenomenon is you have limited energy, you have limited time, you have limited resources, and any group of people that is on the same page working toward a goal should stick to the mission. And John's worked with me in projects and organizations. He knows that mission comes first for me. Your feelings can fuck off, typically. And I've been guilty of interpreting that in the wrong ways and running some people away and screwing some shit up in the past. And so I understand there's a line. I didn't know where the line was in my 30s, and I've learned a lot and worked a lot on finding that line in my 40s. But there's a certain point of frustration for people like me that are passionate, visionary, driven types where, okay, great. Yeah, sorry, I used a word you didn't like. Let's get back to the subject. We got shit to do. And I think people like me are turned off when you derail. And I had a group of parents in our little activist cluster in the schools topic here, get completely derailed because I made the point that I am tired of limp-wristed leaders. I said that verbatim, limp-wristed leaders that don't get shit done. And instead of talking about the fact that those people are ineffective, I ended up lectured to by multiple moms about how I was using a homophobic phrase, and I shouldn't do that. And my point in these kinds of exchanges is, first of all, you're assuming you know what I mean. And you don't actually know what I mean. Because and John, I'm so glad you're here for this conversation, because your voice is in my head when I say limp-wristed. The next thing I hear in my head, and I will do a terrible impression of you, is, "Nyeh." Right? Like, it's not a gay thing. It's a pansy thing. It's a whiny thing. It's a crybaby, weak, pathetic thing. And while you're busy being a leader and you respond to challenge with, "Nyeh," then fuck you. I don't like you. And so I had to listen to this lecture about how I'm using an old trope about gay men. No, it's about generally having a completely weak wrist. You can make it you can make it a handshake,
So
whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yes, spineless would be a better word.
I hear both sides on this. So you're correct and they're correct. And I'm going to bring what Olivia said as the fix for this. Instead of grandstanding and derailing the conversation and like just absolutely destroying you for 20 minutes 30 minutes on your choice of words, you kind of groan to yourself, you move on with the conversation, finish the topic at hand, and then you pull the person aside and be like, hey, maybe you should choose some different words next time because, and this and this. And no matter how you meant it, Lucas, if the room takes it as how they mean it, that's all that ultimately matters, because it detracts from your point. It doesn't make you wrong, but it doesn't make you right.
Right. And I'm here to hear that. But
Yeah.
what you said about the derailment, I think what happens in our culture is a lot of men, especially cis white working men, are hearing way too many lectures, way too much grandstanding, way too much college educated liberals talking down to them about their language. And they're fucking over it. And they see the guy that's willing to say literally whatever the fuck on the mic, and they went and they voted fucking for him. And that's a problem.
Can I break in now?
Yes.
So,
David, you have done a miraculously good job of staying the fuck quiet, so you get the floor.
I know, right? So two things. Number one, I think part of the issue is that we need to acknowledge how bad things have been. Let's just be honest. At least in terms of white men feeling talked down to. Dude, like up until the 90s, you could pretty much get away with killing your wife.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We need to have a little bit of a reality check here, boys and girls. It's we need to acknowledge how wide and how monumental the power gap has been. But I want to point out, there is something to be said for, there's an overcorrection. There is a perception of threat that somehow including other people and acknowledging them and making it so that they are part of the conversation takes away from you. Now, I want to give a good example that just happened. I, who want to talk all the time, right, can shut up and let you all talk and then say my little bit. It's not really that hard. It just takes something that I think a lot of people have a problem with, especially a lot of guys, because they haven't been told they have to do it. It's called self-fucking control. Right? I understand the language thing can get frustrating. I run into the language thing. I get frustrated with myself sometimes. I have other people get frustrated with me sometimes. Sometimes they get overly frustrated with me. I'm going to be honest. I just kind of let that slide. I don't get mad about it because I'm like, because at the end of the day, you want to know what the fucked up thing is? I'm still a white Southern male.
I have a question for you, David.
Go for it.
Your point that you just made is very correct. The things that I was saying before was not from the perspective of right or wrong. It was from the perspective of playing this political game and not a pure numbers game to try to not alienate more and push more to the other side. Use them, unfortunately, as a tool when we need them as a tool.
Well, but here's the other thing. There's another side of that coin, which I also kind of that was kind of. I'll go ahead and jump to my second point because my first point I'll wax on nonstop about it. But the second point is this: Republicans have had to deal with the fact that the Klan and Nazis are on their side for years. And they kind of made it they like, no, we're not, they're not a part of us. Yes, they do vote for us. Yeah, they up until recent memory, they're fucking assholes. We don't really want to fucking deal with them. We acknowledge that they vote for us, but that's not who we stand for.
Okay.
Up until recently.
Okay, all right, fine.
Right?
They're not the party of the clan. They're the party
Yeah.
number one chosen by the clan.
Yeah,
well,
right, yeah.
I think we as Democrats
9 out of
need to
10
take-
hood-wearing doctors suggest, yeah.
right. I think we on the left we need to acknowledge, yes, they're those people who want to play fucking 21st century Trotsky with verbiage and all this other bullshit. And like, no, guys, it's not gonna work. I understand what you're doing over there, but it's fucking stupid. It's not helpful. And in fact, actually it detracts from the fucking conversation in its entirety when you fucking do that. I'm not interested in it. Please go the fuck away.
Right.
Now, we can acknowledge, hey, yes, do those people vote Democrat? Yeah, they do. Are those our people? No, they're not.
No.
They're just fucking assholes.
But nobody's really parsing that. No one's really standing up and saying,
Well,
yeah,
not anymore, because now all of a sudden the Republicans
Fine.
are completely fine with the little fucking neo-Nazis wanting to fucking wash their fucking ass.
no, but I'm
And
talking about on the
apparent-
left.
and
Like,
again,
no one on the
because we
left.
can't get the entire idea of one solid. And this is one thing I'm gonna kind of close with later. But one of the problems with having a coalition as opposed to a cult is it's really hard to get it. Like, there's always.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Hold on. Wait a minute. I was prepping this and it decided to show up.
The fuck are you
Sorry.
Curtain.
I was going to play this later, but since I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this new platform, it decided to just insert it. Okay. Go ahead.
But anyway, Lucas is like, no, I want David to shut the fuck up. This is what I want.
No, that wasn't it. I legitimately.
I thought there was breaking news. I was like, what fucking now?
Right?
Yeah, right.
I know, right? No, for those that don't know, since
There's
we're
only
using
one,
this
there's only one
new,
thing it could be, and I'm not going to say what that is because
we're using a
Yeah,
new
yeah.
platform.
I like
that
my
we-
freedom.
We're using a new platform that we haven't used before, and I'm learning it as we go. And one of the weaknesses of this platform, unfortunately, is it
Lucas is
doesn't
learning
really
curve.
have like the ability to load up a bank of videos to play later. So it's still kind of wonky, but I've loaded a local video to bring into the conversation in a minute.
But anyway, back to the point.
David, I don't
It-
think
it-
it's
it does
the I
get
don't think
confused
it's
now
the
that the Republicans are like,
happenstance.
yes, I would love the Nazis to fellatiate me. And
Can I get that as an audio clip? Just
Yeah.
that.
I don't think it's the happenstance though of people showing up that matters. With the left, no one is actually disavowing anything as too far out there. There's a hyper concern. One of my former bosses had this problem. There was a
okay,
inability to
I
stand
can
up for
see that.
yourself.
I can see your point on that.
There was an inability to stand up for yourself because you didn't want anybody to ever be mad at you. And like, I had to constantly explain to him, like, I mean, we added a product to our menu because I insisted. Like, and this is a print shop, and people that know me are going to know exactly what it was. But and I still love the guy; he's a friend, and he's been a client. But like, we would get files, and both of you are techie, and a lot of people that watch this are techie. We would get fucking publisher files that people wanted us to print on paper. And he would sit there, and the owner of the company would sit there and fucking spend an hour fucking with people's fucking files because he was the only one that had a copy of the software. And I told him, dude, you deserve to be compensated for your time. The company deserves to be compensated. We need to have a file prep fee. We need to punish these dumb fucks that fucking send us pub files.
Publish your file.
Fuck these insufferable fucking MBA twats for their fucking Microsoft ecosystem. If they can't print to PDF, fuck them. And so I said, look, dude, let's just have a $15 file preparation fee. It's just enough to make the bean counters nervous. Keep in mind, this is like 10 years ago, so now it'd be like a $50 fee. Fuck them. But, dude, you need to have a fee that you can charge these people for sending you bullshit when they should have sent you a fucking PDF. They can download any number of free fucking PDF printers that they can put in their stupid ass Windows printer manager and fucking spit out a PDF. And then Microsoft, of course, eventually would make it so that you can make a PDF native in the software. Imagine that shit that every other software beat you to 20 years ago. Literally OpenOffice.
I want to say one thing. I kind of want to paraphrase the boys real fast, because in the course of this conversation, we have used female genitalia repeatedly as as an example of weakness. But as they point out in the boys, they take a pounding.
It's also, of all the genitalia, it is the strongest genitalia. Think about all the functions, like,
oh yeah,
not just sex, everything else that goes with female genitalia. It is the strongest of the two. It should not be disrespected.
You pass a watermelon through your dick and see how it goes. So
that's my Saturday night activities. Don't be putting that out publicly.
Melon sounding with Bush.
I am. I didn't contribute to the 4 categories that are being discussed, and I kind of want to just interject one thing. I've been observing a lot of friends and loved ones who are heavily impacted by the decision that was made on election night. People of color, LGBTQ plus, women in general, all kinds of classes of people that are terrified. You know, it's rooted in fear, and that fear turns into anger. I guess the only thing I want to say to them is try to minimize the amount of media that you're taking in. There's a lot of fear-mongering stuff on the left. Worst case scenario. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible.
Right.
But it's a very, very dark place.
Yes.
It has a psychological impact.
Is it though?
Well, no. I think dark place is accurate.
No, it puts you in a dark place.
No, it does, and I would argue that we all, like, it's and maybe this is a personal thing, but we all need to be prepared for. Yeah, we're going to get to that at the very end, which is it's going to get bad.
It is going to get bad, but I don't think that every single thing that we theorize is going to be worst case scenario.
I believe you're probably right, and
we can hope. I think
we are going to talk about that. That is on the agenda at the end here, but like
the statistical improbability.
You're right about reducing the media. Like you're right about just earlier I was telling my friend on the porch, like I've got to change my morning routine. I've got to change my phone and throne doom scroll and my playing NPR in the shower. If the news cycle for the next 4 years is going to go back to what the fuck crazy shit did Trump do today? I gotta quit doing that on a daily.
I've done something, and I'm going to plug this product, even though none of us are sponsored by them. One thing that has helped me is I pay for ground news, and
I was wondering if that's what you were about to say.
It lets me watch various topics that I care about and see how it's written, left, center, and right. It helps. It really does. It helps you to not be mentally changed and controlled by how writers are writing things. You can still get the same content. And I'm not telling you to fall far right or fall right at all to it. Just pull away from some of the doom and gloom aspects of
things. I pulled this up just so I could answer the question. Darlene, we sometimes we don't have an end time. We try to shoot for 2 hours.
We just keep on talking longer than that we're fucking done.
So good luck. But you're welcome. You stay as long as you like and watch later.
My only problem with ground news is that a lot of the shit that comes out of the right, like Newsmax, this other shit, is I say this is some, and this is the thing that really fucks some people over when they're talking to me, like, because when we all were kids, Democrats were the bleeding heart liberals who didn't care about what the numbers said, that just wanted to, help all the people and whatever. And Republicans were the sensible ones. And Republicans were the sensible ones who were fiscal conservatives and all this other thing. I'm like, well, we want to help people, but we have to do it within our means. Here's my problem. I come from an economics background. I love numbers. I live by Prime Minister William Pitt's quote, which is when he was asked what makes him happy, and he said, a good balance sheet. I love that. I love going through numbers. I love doing it. It's so much fun. I love doing it. I hate bullshit. I don't like bullshit on the left. I don't like bullshit on the right. My problem with ground news is this. I know, in terms of economics, in terms of foreign affairs, in terms of all these other things, that 9 out of 10 pundits on the right are full of simply metric amounts of bullshit.
Yep.
And my problem with ground news is like, well, we give both sides equal coverage. I'm like, that's not correct. The reason that's not correct is this. Both sides are not true. One side, I can go back to the facts. I can go measure something. This is one of the things where I say this, and Lucas and I get into this a little bit because Lucas is not a Christian. I'm a Christian, and I draw a clear delineating line, right? God is not about measurement. Science is about measurement. If I can measure it, it's science. If I can't, it's God. We can work through that. Like on the other end of like all like the different pieces and how that works together on the God side, okay, that's all amorphous. It's vague. Why? Because I can't fucking measure it. But if I can measure it, that's a different thing. I can measure it. I can measure this input and see what output I get. I can see how long, how far, how many years, how many people actually benefited from this program, and what did it cost per dollar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can do that. I can measure it.
Yeah.
The things that Republicans talk about that I can measure, they're full of bullshit. Every single fucking time.
Right. But
getting back to
lie.
But getting to your point, like, you're saying ground news is giving that content a platform. Have you used ground news? Because I'm not.
I make a point of going and doing my forays into right wing.
Yeah, but David,
no. You're missing my point, David. I'm not trying to argue with you and say you're wrong. But from my experience using the platform, and keep in mind that has only been since Tuesday night, because I've been against ground news since day one, because the people that were still in my friend sphere that were right-leaning used it, and I'm like, there's something fucking wrong if they're all fucking using this platform. I'm not.
This has to be a bad thing. Yeah, right.
But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go test the free account. And I played with it, and I filled all my little categories in my location for pulling local news in, and the news agencies that I liked. And I just tested the platform out for a couple of days now. And I'm like, I'm not being fed far right conspiracy shit. I'm not being fed Newsmax. Yeah, I can find it on there if I drill down, but it's not really changing anything. I'm just seeing topics, and it's like, okay, under this topic, this particular news article, here's 20 versions of it, everything from far left, middle, right, and it shows you all of it, and you can do a comparative. And
by
there's
the way,
tags.
Far left is bullshit too, half the
time.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 100%.
Like, I'm not reading the Democratic Socialist fucking newsletter because
it's coming from the guy that has 2 or 3 TVs in his household tuned to MSNBC all day.
Pretty much. two turned all day.
Another point.
I've only ever seen the TV in your dining room and the TV in your, I don't know, bonus room. The place where the couch is that I sleep on when I come to town. You're live streaming on your own TV or your desktop. I assume that's also MSNBC. I assume your
No,
mom,
no,
she's
I'm
got a
gonna be
cable
honest.
box in her bedroom. That's probably MSNBC. I mean, you're
It,
both
hers,
reformed
hers,
Republicans.
hers actually is MSNBC. Yeah.
You know, going back to my point though, David and Lucas, you know, about being careful what media you take in. I mean it less about print media and more about the massive fucking amount of TikTok content that a lot of people in my age group and younger are taking in. And I've seen these people literally in a ball since Tuesday night, not being able to function as
Mhm.
people, broken. And I'm super concerned. Like that's the kind of shit where you see someone get so depressed and scared they hurt themselves.
Yeah, right. And
There's a
which,
mental health aspect to this, and that's why I'm
Well,
saying just
well,
limit
the other
the
side is I've already had a friend attacked.
yeah.
I had to go to the hospital the other night, yesterday night, because a friend got attacked and they beat her up. And they said, Trump won. You deserve this. Hard R.
and
Yeah,
I'm
it's real.
not trying to be.
And for those of you who don't know what hard R is, look it up.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm not trying to be like. I'm asking the question to understand the circumstances. What was their relationship to the people involved? Like, how did they know who to attack? And I'm not trying to sound like I'm saying, but what was she wearing? I'm asking for how the fuck did they even know? Is this a random thing?
She had been on a date with him once.
Oh, fuck. It's got the extra layer then. God.
Yeah.
All right. That's terrible.
You know, and not to detract from what you just said, but you know, I had a conversation today with someone that I look up to professionally, and I'm not going to divulge too many details since this is a public stream. But I had a concern that I didn't know what their political leanings were because that's not something that we've ever discussed in a political situation.
Yeah.
And we were in a conversation that was private where we were both dancing around like, are you okay? Wanting to ask that,
Yeah.
over what just happened. And through how the conversation happened, we both kind of figured out, hey, we're on the same side. And at that moment, we both kind of opened up and were able to discuss things freely. And that really helped me a lot to know, that this person that I looked up to at least aligns in several ways with me. And we got deeper into this conversation and both discussed that in our family, both being from the South and both with some farmer background in our family, that, most of them are on the right. And we discussed education and reasons why they vote. And looking at exit polls, I see the same information. I don't see anyone saying in their exit poll, "I'm voting because of hate. I'm voting because of, I want to ruin this person." Am I saying that there is not a group out there like that? No. There are definitely people out there that have voted because of hate. But most of these people are single issue voters that are voting because they think that Trump is going to help them economically. True or not, but that's still the reason why they're doing it. These same people would not drown a liberal, would not drown a person of color of their own choosing. They're not looking to hurt the majority. And I know that's hard to align with some viewpoints that we have.
Well, I think that's
It's
gonna lean in a
I'm
little
gonna
bit
override Lucas just real
to the
fast. I'm gonna
economy thing, David.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk over you just real fast.
Yeah, rebut that real quick. I want to play this video before we get off anger, and we can run through Latino Men. It's pretty straightforward, and then we'll get into this inflation.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean that is pretty straightforward. The one thing I want to talk about the whole they won't do it. It's the old quote about Germany.
Yeah,
which is you're learning that 1/3 of your population will kill another third of your population, and the other third of the population will sit and watch. And you know what? You're right. Do I think do I think that everywhere we turn, there are active fucking militia members everywhere we turn. There are active fucking Klansmen. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't like it was someone who's on the right. I don't approach them and think, oh, you're a Nazi. No, that's not productive or healthy or helpful to anyone. But
They are contributing to it.
will you sit and watch while it happens?
Well,
That's
my
kind of the thing. Is part of what is supposed to make America work is none of us are after the civil rights movement. None of us are supposed to sit and let it happen again.
Yeah.
And after the Holocaust, after the civil rights movement, after all these things, the vow is always never again, never again, never again. And the problem is there are people very much who are like, I mean,
there's also people on that same side that have had the conversation. I'm going to reference a family member of mine who is younger than me and is in the military and is MAGA. And I've had the conversation with him. Would you turn down an unlawful order? Would you turn on your countrymen? And when I brought this question up to him, he lit up. He actually got very engaged and interested in the fact that I asked him this question. And he said that he's had this conversation many times with people in his unit. And he is yet to find a person that would say that, yes, they would take that order. They've actually said quite the opposite, that they would band together and never turn on countrymen, that they did not take an oath to the president. They took an oath to the Constitution, and that they would. And these are very, very Southern right-leaning MAGA people.
Well, that's nice to hear. That's at least a silver lining.
Small data point. Like tiny.
But I also want to point out the Wehrmacht said the same thing.
Fair. All right, let me.
And afterwards, and I want to point out, afterwards, we tried to. We spent so much time, especially given the Cold War, trying to whitewash the Wehrmacht. And what they did.
Olivia's got a hell of a point.
We tried to whitewash the Wehrmacht and say, no. They like the regular German army, they weren't responsible for this. They didn't participate in it. Like, dude.
All right.
Dude, you stood there and fine. You did not engage other Americans. Great. The question has to be, when the moment came, did you defend the Constitution or did you stand there? And that's really the hard part. What we're talking about here as a group, as a movement, as an idea right now, because of what Trump has proposed, which is blatantly unconstitutional. Even if his packed Supreme Court says it's constitutional, we all know that doing this violates the 14th Amendment. It violates the second genesis of our country, which was the Civil War.
Which of the many items are you talking about?
I mean, like mass deportations.
Okay.
All sorts of things. This violates the 14th Amendment. We know that this is true, but the question is, who will stand by and watch it happen? And who will stand by and resist? And if you resist, we know what happened before, which is you became the enemy for resisting. And that's what a lot of people have told me, is that, well, when you become the enemy, we're going to send you to the same camp.
Well,
and I've had that said to me. And the problem is because they mean it. They're not just talking out of their ass. Yeah, they actually believe that there will be some sort of pogrom, and they're expecting some sort of pogrom.
Here's the mitigating factor.
Trump is going to have to deliver some sort of pogrom to America.
He only has to make the photo op. That's the thing. These idiots think he built the wall. They are unaware that he built the demo wall with 4 different panels and failed to get anybody to take it up. Like, I forgot who the fuck it was that discussed this, but the point was made that, he talks about day one deportations. All they have to do is send the video crew to the place where they load the one bus with the 20 guys that are actual like criminals. And then they
I'm
do
not
it
worried.
in
I'm not
another
worried about that.
they do it in another city, and then they put it out there and say, "Oh, see, we're deporting all these people," but they won't actually be doing it. It's just a sample for the media bite. I don't know that they will be successful in their full execution, because all he ever cares about is making the appearance. It's the reality TV theory. It just needs to look like I'm doing it for everybody to cheer for me next time. So I don't know how much it really happens.
I mean, but the thing you have to remember is when this is one of the things that most people forget about the pogroms and the Holocaust and the Nakba and every other mass purging of people. In Bosnia, same thing. It didn't start with the army mobilizing and rounding people up. It started with a little bit here and a little bit there, and a little bit here, a little bit there, and no one protested. No one, no, like obviously native people, like people who were surrounding, said no, this is bad. But the world didn't rise up and say no.
Right.
It was a little thing. Remember, before there were the official concentration camps, there were what were called the wild camps, which were things set up by the original the SA, the stormtroopers in Germany. Which is they'd go out into some random forest area and run some barbed wire between some poles and shove some Jews and gays and unionists in and be like, here's some tents and here's some food. Go dig a latrine. You can't come out. And people were like, okay, this is silly. Like this, we don't have to acknowledge this, but then once they did that,
I hear you, and I share the same concerns. I'm just trying to be realistic about what we're going to see first. I want to jump through the Latino thing. I want to share this one video because I actually did take the time to go back, rewind my CNN stream, and do the stupid cell phone video.
Yeah, go ahead and show the video.
Let's get a capture card for this man. Jesus Christ.
This is this is an encapsulation of part of what I think pushed people into what we're going to talk about as that last category. It primed people. And this is a little bit of what we were talking about earlier.
Now, I'm going to speak some hard truths to my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It is the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively to voters. We are not the party of common sense, which is what the message that voters sent to us. For a number of reasons. We don't know how to speak to voters. When we address Latino, and language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do. It makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do. When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus of Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right? And so on and so forth. When we put pronouns after names and say she, her, as opposed to saying, you know what, if I call you by the wrong pronoun, call me out, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But stop with the virtue signaling and just speak to people like they're normal. There's nothing I'm going to say to Shermichael that I'm not going to say to you, that I'm not going to say to somebody else. I speak the same language to everybody. But that's not what Democrats do. We constantly try to parse out different ways of speaking to different cohorts because our focus groups or our polling shows that so-and-so appeals to such and such. That's not how normal people think. It's not common sense. And we need to start being the party of common sense again. Joe Biden is not responsible for that. Neither is Kamala Harris. It is a problem that Democrats have had for years. I've been banging the drum on this for, I don't know how, probably 10 years, if not longer on this. We need to get back to being the party of common sense, that people look at us and say, we understand you. We appreciate what you say because you speak our language. And until we do that, we should stop blaming other people for our own mistakes.
Oh, I got a response to that.
Well,
I got a huge response to that.
And I expect you to, but that one really spoke to me because I was just like, yeah.
No, it should. It should.
I've had
It should.
a lot of problems with this concept. I've had more than enough Latino people tell me that they're sick and tired of white fucking liberals showing up in public spaces and calling them Latinx because it's some kind of fucking latte Starbucks fucking signal that we're woke and progressive. And I have refused to say Latinx because I have felt like it was not my job to decide how to refer to a people. And having 2 years of Spanish in high school and a year of it in college before she told me, please take the D and go away. I know the education I received about the culture.
Did you take the D, Lucas?
He always takes the D. Just
all
for the
the
record.
way fully. It was a charity, let me assure you. So I think it's very presumptive to take a culture that has a very structured male-female gendered language and try to shove your fucking non-binary liberal horseshit into it in such a presumptive way. And I think there are plenty of Latino men, getting into the point that we're about to bring up, that are not here for that.
That's fair.
They don't give a fuck about your stupid, you fucking white girl at your fucking town hall saying Latinx. Fuck you, bitch. And I think that's their attitude. And I think they're tired of being talked to that way. And they're out there trying to make it in the world. They're trying to get a paycheck. And they hear the fucking con man show up. And they tell, like, okay, maybe I'll give him a shot. Fuck it. So I'm my ears are open to that, dude. And I think they get a point.
And it's not entirely wrong. One of the problems, and this is one of the issues, both of us are friends with Brandon on Facebook, and
yes,
he went.
Our
we both
Scion, who we wish would join us on screen.
Yeah, he won't.
Has always been conveniently unavailable to ever do so.
But one of the problems that I have with his uber we're gonna overthrow the Democratic Party and we're gonna come all this other bullshit. It's not a party. The Republican Party is a coalition.
I know.
It's a fucking coalition.
We need a David Sermon graphic because this is
that's right. Grants. Hold on, let me get my collar on. And now, good people of the congregation. One of the problems is that the Republicans have one of the reasons they're stronger than us right now is because they've developed a cult. We have a coalition. We have a lot of different people with a lot of different ideas about a lot of different things. Like what the most frustrating thing most of the time for me from the economics standpoint is I have fucking supply side neoliberals hanging out my party arguing against true progressive economics, which arguably make more economic sense, but they won't do it because it hurts their fucking feelings. Which just pisses me off to no fucking end. But I mean that's one of the challenges you have when you're in a coalition. And this is one of the things I tried to impress on Brandon the other day, and one of the things I try to impress on everyone. We're like, why isn't the Democratic Party doing X? Why didn't they condemn Israel? Why didn't they do X? Why didn't they do X? Why didn't they do Y? Why didn't they do Z? And the reason is because when you have a coalition, right, you try and keep that coalition together. And unfortunately, not everyone in the coalition may always agree. And in order to keep the coalition together, sometimes you slide over things. And the reason you do is to try and keep the coalition together, to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to go talk to this side that's not happy.
Yeah, but
Right?
like at some point you have to. John has heard this sermon before. Somebody's got to say no.
But
You know,
here's the thing.
a certain
Every faction has its red lines.
We're involved with in the past.
Progressives have their red lines. Pro-Israel groups have their red lines.
But trying to be
Black
everybody's
empowerment
friend,
groups have their red lines.
trying
Everyone
to be
has
everybody's friend makes you everybody's enemy. It's absolutely dysfunctional to never say no. John has had to hear me say this over and over again. He heard it when we worked together. He heard it in the aftermath. The downfall of any group is when a leader takes power, and in this case, the leader is the DNC, that cannot look at someone and say, I hear you, but we're not doing that right now, schnookums. We're going to focus on the real shit that we have to do. So in the previous clip,
literally that just happened.
I think there is a place for I hear you. Gender identity is important in the conversation, but I think we could let the tedious fucking identity thing go.
Well,
and a
the
good
problem
local
is we
example for
literally
me
just
is
did
I
that.
went to one of the best breweries in town, Brewery Vivant,
We-
for a school board candidate forum. And one of my favorites, a person who I deeply cherish, who I'm hoping to have coffee with soon and talk to about some of this very topic. But a person that was they, and I'm very specific about that word, they got the most votes for school board on Tuesday. A non-binary person got the most votes for school board in Grand Rapids. I couldn't be prouder of that. But here's what I'm not interested in. Every fucking time they had the mic at that forum, they reintroduced themselves with they, them after their name.
All right, let me be very clear.
That's
red
the
line that you're talking
shit,
about,
dude. That's the shit that's driving people to the right.
No, but here's the other side of that, if I may.
Yeah.
Did we promise to mass deport Latinos? No. Did we promise to close the border? No. Did we promise to do all this other shit? No. We said no. We said literally we came right up to the edge of that.
We say no to the other people, but we don't say no inside of our own ranks.
The border bill that we brought before the Senate and the House was the Republican fucking wish list. Right? We actually did that.
Right.
We looked at the pro-immigration side of the party and said no. We do say no.
But
we
not
do
inside.
Say no all the time.
Not inside the House, David. Not inside the House. We say no to the other party. We say no to the opposition. But we don't ever say no.
We didn't. We said yes. We literally said yes to everything that they wanted.
Here's an analogy. Here's an analogy to my earlier reference. David.
We say
here's
no
an analogy.
all the time.
Here's
Gentlemen,
an analogy
breathe.
to my earlier analogy that I made with John, given our history of nerd conventions. The problem going on in the Democratic Party is directly analogous to something that I felt like I was going to have to say over the period of 15 years when I led one of the Nashville area nerd cons. No, sugar, you can't have 4 hours of gay anime porn in the video room. No. You're going to need to share that time with other people. Sorry.
Yep.
And no one says no in the Democratic Party. It's everything.
Oh, yes, they do.
Goes.
They say it all the time.
Well, the only thing they say no to is true progressivism, which might be the core of the fucking problem, right?
Bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. They say no to people all the time. The only difference is they don't slam their fist down on the table and say no, go fuck off. They say no, we are not going to do that. This is the cost of the coalition.
I mean, maybe they need to start pounding the fist then because it's not working, right?
Well, because here's the problem. We say no all the time. We said no to the pro-immigration lobby when we presented that immigration bill.
I don't think we said no to them. I think we said, okay, fine, Republicans. If we let you have just the tip, will you fucking go away?
Well, but
I don't think that's the same as saying no.
The thing is, someone had to go look at the pro-immigration side and tell them, no, we're going to move on. Someone had to go say no to them. Someone had to go say no. Someone had to go say no when the ACA came to pass, and it was bye, Johnny.
Yeah.
Someone had to say no when pre-existing conditions stopped being a thing. Someone had to say no. Like, we say no all the time. The thing is, we don't scream it. Republicans don't have to say no to anyone. That's part of the problem. They say yes to everyone on their side. They say, "Oh, what are we going to do?" Well, we're going to do. I'm going to go promote this horrible fucking thing.
Maybe, but I don't think we have a disciplined vision, and we're going to have to wrestle with that. Let me jump through this Latino men thing real quick. Here's the thing that I took away from this conversation. I was listening to NPR earlier, and somebody made an analogy that I think makes a lot of sense, and I want to see what you two guys think of it. This recent revelation that Latino men vastly supported Trump. Okay, maybe that's overplaying it. They in the mid 50 percentile supported Trump, which is enough of a big deal. I forgot who it was. I was listening to Consider This earlier today on NPR, and they pointed out that the American Latino is now a lot more analogous to a few decades ago with Italians or Irish, and that maybe we should not still be assuming Latino is such an outside group, and that it's more of just part of the American working people's culture. Mm-hmm. And as a person who is filling out no less than 10 job applications a day, I'm real goddamn tired of having to differentiate that little checkbox when I say I'm white, but are you Latino? I think that checkbox is out of date, and I think this idea of courting the Latino vote as a monolith and a segment and an identity politics element might also be out of date. The Republicans, like I said earlier, Trump didn't have a plan. He just stumbled into his fucking success. Like every other rich corporate asshole, he was successful despite himself. But I don't think we can keep looking at Latinos, especially Latino men, as, a special monolith. Because as the NPR commentator I was hearing earlier pointed out, a lot of these people are second, third, or fourth generation Americans. They are Latino by the nature of the fact that their granny came here. But they are just as much part of regular mainstream working American culture as Irish, Italian, or any other group that used to be considered a minority in our demographic discussions. And that maybe the Democratic Party is behind the fucking 8 ball about how to deal with that demographic. And I think that figures in greatly to this Latino men for Trump.
So I'm going to move us on to our last topic.
Hold on. I want to know what John has to say about that first, because
he gets
the least
talking. Then
mic time.
I have a bridge.
Well, I intentionally get the least mic time because y'all talk too fucking much and people want to go to bed sometime this day. I think that there are a lot of pieces to the Hispanic vote, and trying to boil it down to a single answer is it's pointless.
Foolish.
Yes, foolish, pointless. It's going to be unsuccessful.
Mhm.
I think that you are correct in that there's more similarities to the Latino and Latina group compared to, bringing them into just like the general American group. They're voting the same as any other working class group.
Mhm.
I need to dig some more into it. I was reading the other day that in a few states there was like some Trump project that was done. It was like a coalition for like the Hispanic Americans or something like that, where they were trying to pull more of a Hispanic vote towards Trump, and it was successful in a couple of states that they did it in. And I think we could probably stop looking at what their racial background is and just look at them as people and
Right.
say that there's not really much difference. I mean, they're making the same decisions based on, where are they in the workforce? Where are they in education? Where are they in the country physically? Like, it doesn't matter what, their racial background is when they're making a decision based on an economic concern or,
Right.
things like that.
I will highlight this. And hi, Michelle. Latino men, along with Italians, consider women second-class citizens. That's why they would never vote for them. And I think that figures in. I was really on my high horse, hoping for the talking point this week of, well, people just wouldn't put a woman in, sexism, blah blah blah. But really, it comes down to this damn working people economy inflation thing. But I do think that cultural note bears out.
Sure.
That's true, and it could figure into some of the how wives voted phenomenon, because that's been a big factor here, because we all had this fantasy of like all these suburban women are going to secretly do Kamala, and that didn't
And a lot
fucking
did.
happen. Some did, but there is certainly a piece of that. But I think that note that Latino men, along with Italians, consider women second class, I think that could figure into the Latino support for Trump. The strong man political leader mentality and persona,
The caudillo,
may appeal very well there.
in Latin American countries, it's the idea of what's called the caudillo. The strong leader. I'm gonna do something that's kind of lead us into our last point, which is prices and inflation. Because one of the things that I think needs to be kind of connected in this entire thing is with regards to how people perceive their station in the economy, right? So all growing up, we were always taught, like we hear this still in America, work hard, put your nose to the grindstone and you'll do good. Like you'll prosper. And we all now know that that's bullshit, right? We all can acknowledge that is utter and complete fucking fantasy land bullshit. But it's still built into the how we structured our laws, our society, our economy, right? So it's still the vestiges are still there, right? But if that's not working, and if that's broken down, then what replaces it as a mantra for what you're working towards? And the thing that replaces it, when you have the worst parts of that, if I work hard and the value of my work will be recognized, but it's not being recognized, then the worst version of that is what's called pick me culture, right? And people may ask, what the fuck am I talking about? So the idea is that I show value to someone. It's literally like a fucking clownfish, right? Clownfish show their value. Let me finish. Show their value to other mates based on their behavior, like the behavior of the clownfish, right? But some clownfish, specifically, not the stronger ones, downplay their ability. They actually take a subservient role within the school to be accepted by the school. Pick me culture is, I'm a gay man, but I support you as a Republican. I love you. Aren't I the person who you want to have? Like, don't you recognize my value to you? And won't you raise me up because of that? I'm a Latino. I'm in this position. Won't you raise me up? Because I've shown you value. You who are superior, I acknowledge your superiority. Won't you protect me and help me? So when it's not about your own individual effort, but someone reaching down.
Olivia is so correct.
Olivia nailed it.
But the thing is, it's not just pick me women. It's not just pick me women. It's pick me everything.
That's fair.
It's pick me everything. It's the Florida representative who's a black guy who constantly votes for racist shit. It's the guy who just ran for governor in North Carolina who claimed to be a black Nazi. The behavior is the same, Olivia. You are correct.
Yeah,
but it's a general behavior.
I do want to point out that the comment is really long, so it would probably block out of all of our faces. But Michelle, and hi, Michelle, thanks for being here. Points out an interesting question, and I think this connects to the inflation and prices topic. Could you sometime talk about how Trump won virtually every county by 10,000 votes, how Josh Stein was elected governor by a huge amount of votes, assuming by Dems, but Kamala lost by hundred thousands of votes? Doesn't make sense. Lots to talk about ballots. And yeah, like, sure, we could go down that rabbit hole. It probably won't end up fruitful. We've learned that our system is pretty solid. But I think the reason for that is the difference between the fucked up perception, the information silos that people are in, telling them,
it's fair, Olivia. It's very fair.
Oh, everything's bad because the president's responsible for the price of eggs. And at the end of the day, that's an oversimplification of an incredibly complex economic structure. And it is also related to the fact that a governor can lean on some very localized talking points and doesn't have to own the overall national economy. And people might split their ticket in that regard. And people are dumb enough. I mean, really, this election shows us the winning of dumb. I mean,
I literally heard multiple conversations where people said, I voted Democrat straight down the ticket, except for president.
Yep.
Right.
I've heard some of those too.
Yep. Because there's this mythology, especially in people that are dumb, which is most of the country, that the president controls the price of eggs, milk, and gas, and no other things are ever brought to bear there. I mean, you see it with the right-wing voter where they believe that we could do more in gas. We're doing more in gas than we've ever fucking done.
We are literally currently the world's largest oil producer.
Right. People that don't understand the structure of how it works, the world market of petroleum, the fact that we don't get, these people don't understand that we don't take the gas, or hold on, let's start at the oil. We don't take the petroleum out of the ground in fucking Texas or wherever the fuck and then take it straight to a refinery and then turn it around and put it on a truck straight to the fucking BP down the street from your fucking burbs. No, it goes into the world market where we are a minority player in the decisions that are made.
Because
we have to play ball with those fucking OPEC pricks. And yeah, we could usurp that. And would I entertain that? Maybe. Does David have more economics education and probably tell me why that's a crazy fucking idea? Probably. But yeah,
that's a
I
bad
would
idea.
love for America to stick up middle fingers and say, fuck you, we're not exporting shit. We're going to use it all ourselves. But I'm sure there are a million reasons why that's a terrible idea.
But again, so back to Olivia's thing about I greatly I was reaching for a fucking analogy that I maybe could reach people, and I'm because it's kind of pick me culture is hard to explain to a lot of people who don't necessarily acknowledge that it exists, right? But it does exist, and we know this. Like we every time there's an oppressed group of people, there'll always be those members of that group who will look at the oppressor and say, let me show you how I can be of service to you. And won't you benefit me if I can be of service to you? And I think the problem that we have right now, in large part, it is not. You are a liar. You are a fucking liar. In large part, the problem that we have is that we went from a culture that said that you could work hard and win to a culture that says you have to be chosen to win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and if we think about this pricing and economic thing, like at the end of the day, first of all, traditionally, we know in American politics and history, the party that presides over high inflation tends to lose. Okay. And this is where David and I, before the show, were talking about how much are we going to blame the DNC here? And David was a little bit like, well, it's not the DNC's fault. And I'm very much fuck the party. I have always, well, not always, in my adult life, I learned pretty quickly to be fuck the party. They're fucking shit up. Actually, on my other screen, I have a lengthy post from Scott Urbanowski, who ran for county clerk here and lost. And his whole post is pinned on an image that says, fix the Michigan Democratic Party. And I believe the party does have to own a lot of the failure here. And in this case, you're battling a simplistic message. If you're on the right, the simplistic message is eggs and gas are expensive and it's Joe's fault. And if you're on the left, you're trying to explain the thing that Scott Galloway has explained so many times in his content. And if you don't know who he is, Google him. He's a fucking brilliant guy. If there's anybody I could say, like, he's my political spirit animal, it's Scott Galloway right now. Scott Galloway's like, no, the economy's on fire. The problem is the economy's not on fire if you're making 50 grand a year, trying to support a family and trying to buy some fucking milk and put gas in your tank to get to work. And CNN or MSNBC, one of them today did the whole cross-reference of different voting counties and the percentage of people that make over $200,000 in household income. And it was a correlation of blue counties comfortably over 200,000 household income.
Yep.
Red counties, not. And then you get into the college thing. College-educated people voted for Democrats. I'm a dropout. Where do I fall? Because they all like to talk in the news about people with a college degree supported Kamala. I don't have a degree. I have some college education. You motherfuckers probably need to subdivide that, because I wonder sometimes if I have blind spots to the everyman syndrome by having been in college for some time before saying, fuck this swindle, I'm going into the career. So is there a thing? Do I have a blind spot? Because I was in a working class household, union dad, one working parent. Do I not have the same influences as some of these working people do? I don't know. I feel truly fucking lost about that topic. But what I know is people that are scraping by are pissed the fuck off when they go and they scan the shit at the grocery counter. And if you're running on that, you're winning.
You're winning,
Because
flat
the
out.
Democrats have to explain esoteric shit like technically your 401k is doing really well because the assholes that use the stock market as their personal fucking casino are making bank. And eventually, when you're old, you'll have that too. Kind of. That's a really lengthy collegiate discussion to have with regular fucking people.
And this is one of the problems where the coalition really failed us, because Harris could have come out and solidly said, "I'm putting price caps on shit. I'm reinvoking FDR, and I'm putting price caps on things." And the argument always I hate this fucking argument. I want to be very clear, because so many, and this is a point where I normally break with a lot of modern economists. So many modern economists come out and say price caps disincentivize companies to produce a certain product. That's fucking bullshit. That's an absolute 100% fucking lie. Because ironically, here's what happens in the modern economy when you put price caps on things, which is, now I have a price ceiling that I will get for this product, which means I have a regular, I know I can tell you, Jesus, this is actually a huge benefit to a lot of companies. I know every single month, right? This is the price of my input. This is what I get for that output. That's actually, in its own way, a fucking benefit. This entire argument that price caps break supply chains is a complete myth. And the problem is, on the Democratic side, you had a lot of neoliberal supply side, still kind of supply side economists hanging around telling her, you can't do this. When the reality, that's, if she had said, I'm going to set the price of eggs at $3.50. I'm going to set the price of bread at $3. I'm going to set the price of a gallon of milk at $3.50. She would have won this fucking election without,
she wouldn't have even had to touch gas. She wouldn't have had to touch gas at all, because gas prices were already dropping anyway, which I view as a manipulation by OPEC.
She ran into that side, and this is the one problem with, this is the one side of the coalition that I am the most angry at 9 times out of 10. The far lefties, they can go scream and set their hair on fire for all the fuck I care most of the time. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. But the neoliberal, like, semi-supply side economists, motherfuckers, like fucking, what's his name out of Delaware? Dooley, whatever, like, starts with a D. Delaney.
Dooley?
Literally,
somehow he got confused between Delaney and a pickup truck. I don't know how it happened.
Whatever. Delaney, I would seriously, that motherfucker.
I feel you.
I am tired of these motherfuckers like, well, I'm socially liberal but fiscally conservative. Fuck you. Fuck you.
All right, let's flip the page.
This is not how this shit works anymore. We need, like, it pisses me off when, like, if she had done that, and this is like part of what I said about, like, bold policy, revolutionary policy, something that would have grabbed people's attention. If she had stood up and said, and made Trump try and follow her, be like, hey, I'm going to put price caps on. I'm going to reinvoke FDR, and I'm going to put a price cap on.
Yeah. Well, I want to flip the page a little bit. Now, our guest John has been here for way longer than we ever agreed to.
Unfortunately, this is the post-election show, so
it's a long one. Yeah.
If you knew us, you knew this was going to be.
What I want to do is I want to give John the ability to gracefully exit between topics. We're going to flip over to what's next, and it's already taken shape. We're going to go through a little bit of the headlines. But I do want to thank you for joining in. In the people that I know bubble after the election, I noticed who was really thinking, who was really talking. John kind of popped up as like, hey, man, you should sit on the show. And I really appreciate you coming in and sharing your perspective.
Yeah, and on the what's next thing, I would like to make one comment, and I'm going to parrot someone that I follow online. I don't want to hear any the real work starts now. From the top down, we've got to realign. No, fuck you. This is small movements, very, very tiny grassroots things. What's inside of our personal bubbles? That's the kind of outlook I want
Yeah.
from the Democratic side, because we're fucked. This whole thing was fucked up and bad.
Yeah.
And I don't want the individual to feel like they have to do something from the top of the political party to fix this. But there's some statements being made like that, and fuck those people.
Yeah. I think we are like a little bit of what you're saying is kind of where my perspective has shifted. And I've still been trying. I mean, yesterday was terrible. I was just fucking laid out in the recliner all day. Depressing, bad. Today was rough, but I was upright and I started doing some productive shit around the house. And my approach, I'm trying to figure out this approach to, let me start small. Let me start here. The stuff that you can't see in the camera shot, there's a lot of shit on the floor in this office. There's a lot of shit that needs to be rearranged and dusted.
You can shit in the bathroom, not on your floor, just for the record.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. There's a lot of looks good on television going on. There's a layer of dust on every fucking thing in this room. And what I started trying to do today was, let me clean up, let me organize, let me make my immediate environment more positive and bright for me. And then the next stage is, let me lean into these local wins. Let me, I'm the vice president of the fucking neighborhood organization, which, for those that don't understand, we're not talking about an HOA. We're talking about a neighborhood organization in the community block grant sense. Like, I have the ability to lean in and make a difference for my third of this city. And after we change our charter in February, we're going to serve an even larger footprint. What can I do in that role? And I'm working on getting a new full-time job. How will that balance in? How much can I lean into my work? And at the same time, in the city elections that I just touted earlier, what can we do there? What can we do to make this all blend into something that we can really find the energy for locally, right? And so that's where I've tried to put some focus. I'm proposing it to myself mentally, but I think you're right. There's not any one person. There is an entity. We need the DNC to pull its head out of its ass, and we need to stop pulling punches. I think we've all three touched on that. We've got to stop pulling punches, whether it's the way you say some shit. That's the early Kamala campaign with the say it to my face attitude. If that could have prevailed a little bit, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
The rolling back Tim Walz, he's sounding too progressive, and putting him in the corner, but then only in the last week and a half. Oh, no, fuck it. Give him the mic. No. You should have let him be on every show saying, oh, I fed all the kids in our schools in Minnesota. Fucking sue me.
Yeah.
You should have been able to say that over and over again. There were plenty of mistakes with the group think. And I don't, John, I agree with you. I don't think it's any one thing, but I will say I want a new person at the top of that pyramid.
Yeah.
And I think it's Stacey Abrams.
I think it's Swalwell.
I could live with that, but I would love to give the party to somebody with some guts. I'm never going to not.
You don't think Swalwell has guts?
No, I'm saying I could live with that. I think he fits the bill. It's just he's another white boy, and I don't know if we don't need some black girl.
I think if we want to ease a lot of these fucking manosphere assholes back into, hey, this is how actual governance works.
That's fair. That's fair.
Is an easy thing. I want to say one thing before we move on.
Let's let John.
Oh yeah, John sign off.
Anyway, thank you, dude. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Still tuning in.
Yeah.
Yes, we're still going.
Yeah, they're still going. They're going till next election.
No, pretty much like that.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll still be here. Don't worry.
Thanks again, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I have a bedpan. It's okay.
Oh my God, really? You have a bedpan, but apparently you're sitting on it because you're like sunk down in your chair like an old man. Sit up, you fucker. Or
Fuck
tilt
you.
that
And
camera.
I am literally like my spine is as straight as it
There, I'll
possibly could fucking.
I'll take the text under chin spot. You take the midget
It's
location.
my camera. What the fuck?
Anyway, so
I want to say one. I want to
let's
say
talk
one
about
last
the
thing about the
roadmap through
economics
hell.
thing. I want to say one last thing about the economics thing, which is this: whenever you see economic inequality at this level, this is an entirely predictable result. Whenever you see economic inequality, you should expect wild results from polling, from everything else. You should expect, and this is one of the things that I don't think Democrats attacked appropriate. Like they've tried to nibble at the edges and not directly address. And again, it's because I think of the Delaney faction of the Democratic Party, who is like, oh, we have to be pro-business. We have to show business that we're on their side. Fuck that. Whenever you see economic inequality at these levels, expect wild swings. And we know this from, again, slap on David's time machine if you want, but we know this from experience. This happens every time in history. Whenever you have these wild economic imbalances between sides, expect wild fucking results. Expect things that you wouldn't expect. And the reason is because, again, people are angry and people are looking around and things that they need are expensive. And part of the reason they're expensive is because people with money will go out and buy more of them because they can. Do they need them? No. But they'll buy more. Like healthcare is a classic example. This should be what's called an inelastic good. In other words, something that shouldn't readily respond to market forces. But because we've privatized it to the point of absurdity, it is elastic now.
Yeah.
And you have rich people going out and buying massive amounts of it, meaning that now we have scarcity, right? And if there's scarcity, then the price has to go up.
I feel like there's a lot of fear culture in that as well. It's like it's kind of like the hoarding of wealth in the beginning, right? Like, oh, but I don't know, I might need it. And so they buy these Cadillac plans they don't need because they've been fortunate enough to have all the money to afford the personal trainer and all the good vegan food and whatever the fuck. Like, it's an antithetical concept. Yeah.
It's like the rich assholes who seal themselves up in bunkers with nothing but like fucking kale and other shit. So I went to go get new glasses.
Nature's chewing gum.
I went to go get new glasses the other day, right? And the doctor began reading me a fucking sermon about, well, you need to stay away from seed oil and eat more greens and to prevent macular degeneration. I'm like, well, I eat salads like 2 or 3 times a week, like kale salads. And he's like, oh, kale is a superfood. I'm like, that's not real. There is no such thing as a fucking superfood.
But David, he was visited by a young lady from the kale lobby one day who had great tits, and they were pushed up between the unbuttoned blouse.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm never going back to that optometrist ever again.
Repping her product and explained to him what the science was.
I'm never going back to that optometrist
That's
again.
how the medical
that was absolutely fucking horrendous.
If your doctor recommends a product that has a brand or a market that you have to buy, someone with great cleavage was involved in the influence.
But back to the point. Expect stupid fucking shit to happen when income inequality becomes radical.
That's true.
Expect it.
I just really always hoped in my little heart of progressive hearts that it would manifest differently. I had hoped that it wouldn't manifest in dipshit populist right-wing fucking Trump, and that it would manifest in oh shit, how'd Bernie get nominated? Like, I just really didn't think
And by the way,
that average
fuck that
working
guy.
people would be this stupid on
By the way,
mass.
fuck that guy the first time. Fuck him the second time for his whole like, oh, I'm going to cast shade. You didn't talk to the working people. Harris had plenty of good working people solutions. They didn't sound angry.
Well, right. I mean, yeah, okay, but also she did miss some possibilities.
Like what?
You know,
She
I
told
feel
the
like-
truth.
I
Like
feel
it's like
she-
bullshit.
no,
Like, oh, why didn't you all
you
read?
asked a question, fucker. I'm going to give you an answer.
Fair enough.
Medicare for all. She missed
Pass it through the Senate. Good luck.
Dude, it's not about passing it. We're talking about dumb fucking people.
Who
Remember,
don't want socialized medicine. So
dude,
Medicare for all
no
sounds
one
bad anyway.
cares about the practicalities. All these fucking people overwhelmingly support, like, what is it? Over 60% of all people polled support mass deportation, and not a one of them has thought about how ridiculously logistically and financially impossible that actually is. It doesn't matter. They voted for the guy that said it. He doesn't have to deliver it. He gets to show them three
So
different
lie harder
buses.
is your answer? I don't know that.
A little. The Democrats could stand to understand some marketing. Democrats could stand to listen to people like me. You don't have to have a solid plan for how to do it as long as you have the general idea of what people like and your intent to do it.
That sounds really bad.
I'm sorry. It's the reality of where we are. I didn't ask for the idiocracy any more than you did, David, but the reality is people are stupid. They want tastes great, less filling. It doesn't matter if the human capacity of a stomach is still the same for ounces of liquid. They want tastes great, less filling. That's why they buy beer we don't drink.
By the way,
I like watching you process the fact that I've acknowledged the point that I'm making, that I don't like it any more than you do, but it's real.
well, also I'm processing the fact that Fat Bottom has not done as good a job with their Christmas ale.
So it's tastes not great and maybe filling.
It's both. It's
all right. So
both,
let's talk
actually.
about this roadmap. Let's talk about what's next.
Yeah, I just historically, to leave you with this. Historically, whenever you see massive income inequality like we have today, expect stupid fucking wild results from people being angry and wanting something different, because prices are going to go up, inflation is going to go up, because rich people are buying more shit and the poor are left fucked.
This is a pretty good point here.
Yeah.
Olivia is a progressive person, very intellectual person. I don't dislike her economic proposals, and she's the kind of person that reads those nerdy details, right? Most of them are not going to touch my life in a personal way, and I do not think I'm alone in that. And that is valid. The most that I got out of Harris's economic talking points was, okay, so if I choose to buy a home, which I don't know if I'm going to do ever, I'm 46 and renting and laid off. So I'm already thinking about which one of my two 401k accounts I can snag a few grand from in January to make it another quarter while I fucking search for a job in this greed complex of fucking HR recruiting horse shit. The last thing on my mind is, oh boy, that 25 grand would help me buy a house. No.
So
the main thing on my mind is, how do I stay in this house and keep the landlord from picking up on how tight shit is? Now, next is the small business thing. Okay, cool. I've thought about it. I've thought about it. You and I have talked about it. Like, hey, okay, neat. Could start a business. Okay, whatever. At the same time, that's not a reality that I'm currently thoroughly entertaining. So why do I fucking care? And then you got Trump over here saying the Biden administration is 100% responsible for inflation. Never mind the whole global inflation pandemic, and we've done better than everybody else. And
Biden has brought
everything
more manufacturing onshore than Trump ever did.
right, and everything sucks, and it's all his fault. That's winning. That's selling. The Democrats are not selling. The Democrats don't understand hyperbole and making it work for them in a marketing sense.
That's a little bit true. I will say this: one of the major things that struck me about her proposal about the $50,000 for a new home, right, is the
That was
knock
25.
on
I think
effect.
it's 25.
It was 50, or
Was
maybe
it?
it was 25.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
25. Anyway, whatever. It's moot
But
now. She didn't fucking win.
yeah, it's the knock on effect. Um, so most often when we look at the knock on effect, we're looking at, oh, a plant closed, which means that this bakery over here closed, which
Mhm.
means that this this other thing closed. But we also see it in the opposite way, hopefully most of the time, going the other way, which is this plant opened, which then gave rise to a lunch counter over
Yeah.
here, which then, like, it's the knock-on effect. It's why losing a plant for so many of these small towns meant the town died,
Mhm.
right? Because all these other things revolved around this influx of money coming into the town and the town being able to sell these things.
Right.
Uh, the knock-on effect of the discount on houses spurs developers, spurs builders, right? To be like, oh, well, I have a better chance of selling a house. So I'm going to go take a risk and go build more houses because I believe I can sell more of them, which means more jobs for carpenters, more jobs for plumbers, more jobs for electricians, more jobs for framers, more jobs for drywallers, more job and all those other jobs spawn other further more jobs. So when the government says, "Hey, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to take whatever the price this is and knock off a part of it. I'm going to make this more attractive to you as a consumer to go do." That was the entire point of that's the entire point of the mortgage tax credit. And the only problem with the mortgage tax credit is that supply does not anywhere near meet demand. Now, the only problem with Harris's plan, the only issue that I saw with it was this: how are you going to deal with the plant with the zoning commissions about where you're going to put houses? That was the major problem that I saw. I'm like, yeah, shit. But the rest of it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can employ nationally 200,000 more plumbers, 100,000 more electricians, 200,000 more framers
Mhm.
building
Yeah.
houses. I'm like, this is good news. Like
But
when
that's deep thinking, and I think Olivia put this really, really well. I like this. Like it's enormous, and I got to sit up to get above it. But this is an incredibly well explained explanation of what people are dealing with. We're dealing with a society of rugged individualism and people who are searching for answers that will benefit them directly. And here's the thing.
also she quoted Porfirio Diaz, which makes me feel dirty. A rising tide lifts all
Do
boats
not
in
have the
Porfirio
economic
Diaz.
literacy. They do not. The whole comment you had to see it on the sidebar because it doesn't fit on the screen.
Oh
Do
no,
not
I can see
have
it.
the economic literacy and do not think they don't think about the cause and effect. And so I was talking earlier with my buddy on the porch about some of this, and they pointed out the Trump checks. And I said, that's such a cheap fucking move. It's such a cheap buy off. And he said, yeah, but it was brilliant because now it has paid in. Because a lot of doors that this person knocked for the campaign were black men who said, yeah, but Trump sent me the check, the stimmy check. So at the end of the day, I know this sounds self-serving as a marketing and brand guy and a comms guy, a Marcom guy. Democratic Party needs to learn some shit about marketing. I'm sorry, but
Oh no, it's true. That is 100%
that
true.
fucking con man. The problem with Trump is that he is neither of those things alone. He is a con man. He is a marketer. He is both, and that's the problem.
Not wrong.
One of those alone might fail. The two of those things combined, and I wouldn't call them talents, I would call them circus skills. I don't know what to say about something that's kind of like a half-baked talent,
Yeah,
but
I
it
mean,
works.
he's a carnival barker. But I mean,
That's very accurate.
I get what Olivia's saying, which is you need to see the immediate benefit, which is again like if I feel like if Harris had come out and grabbed the bull by the fucking testicles and said, "I'm going to put price caps on shit," she would have won.
Well, there are a variety of things that she could have done that would have resulted in that.
Well, no, I think price caps would have won it, like hands down.
Maybe, but you would still have the corporate assholes saying, "Oh, well, if we can't sell eggs for $6 a carton, then we're going to have to fire a whole bunch of people," which ironically would probably be of the very people that those same voters want to
Well,
deport.
Well,
But
I'd also point out like that. Then you invoke the if you want, we have acts in place to be like, hey, so in order to maintain the supply, especially the supply of food, we have acts in place, and Harris could simply look at them and be like, I can nationalize your company for nothing because food security is an issue.
see, then you would empower the other side to actualize their imaginary jerk-off fantasy about communism. So there's a give and take in all
Well, I
of
mean,
it.
well, like, but here's the thing: I don't think they actually care about communism. If all it's about is economics, you don't go into
Oh yeah,
ideology
every
over
one of
this.
these fucking people would sell out to communism in a hot
Don't
second.
go into
It had
economic.
benefited them.
Don't go into this. If she had said, "I'm going to put price caps on these things, and if they don't produce, then I'll just simply nationalize them," then I don't see that anyone would have had a problem.
I don't know, man. That really gives the right the talking point of, oh,
But the thing is, the
see,
right's
they're
gonna
commies.
the right believed that the last election was completely invalid. So who the fuck cares what the fuck right thinks
And interestingly
about
enough,
anything? Their
Trump
talking points
tweeted
are
2 hours before they called Pennsylvania. Trump was tweeting, "Oh, we're hearing about shenanigans in Pennsylvania," brr, and then all of a sudden, crickets, fucking crickets. Anyway, let's close this fucker out with the roadmap
yeah.
through hell.
What do we do now? What do we do now?
So here's what's happening as we speak. I was just checking the headlines. So Trump has named Susie Wiles as chief of
Bad news.
staff,
But it's gonna be what it is.
first woman to hold the role. Big fucking deal. I'd rather have the first woman president. It appears that he's stuck with Jerome Powell for a couple of years. I know that that's by design. I know you know a lot more about this than I and the other regular people, average folks. But I know that we make the Fed chair term what it is to keep from having someone like Trump come in and burn it all down. So he's stuck with Powell for 2 years more. And that's interesting to me for two reasons. One, it's a little bit of a guardrail because he's not facing a lot of guardrails. It's a little bit of a guardrail economically. And two, it leads us into the midterm election, which is the only hope we have, especially if the House flips.
The house
doesn't
the
flip,
house
actually.
the house isn't gonna flip.
If the House does not flip to blue, the only hope we have is beginning in a year and a half, looking at them and saying, hey, you know all that shit they promised? Funny, it hasn't worked out, has it?
I mean, luckily, here's the problem: is Trump is going to do enough outrageous shit to anger enough people, and that a lot of those people who showed up to vote for him this time aren't going to show to vote for him a second time.
Why do you think?
Because they don't care. they
So
can't.
you think that the same Cletus that emerged from his trailer in his stained underwear and his wife beater with his AR in his hand
Yep.
and waddled to his mailbox to turn in an absentee ballot that just 4 years ago he was saying was completely fucking corrupt.
Yep.
You're saying that Cletus is not going to vote again.
No.
I have trouble.
You want to know why? You want to know why? Because whose name isn't on the ballot?
What?
Whose name isn't on the ballot?
So you think that Cletus and Bubba are major federal election cycle guys?
They only care if Trump's name is on the ballot.
Okay. All right. I can follow you there. And I can follow you for the same logic that we had earlier in the comments and the same logic of some of these other turnouts. Like if you look at Michigan, we elected Democrats. We elected a Democratic senator, but Trump also.
They only care if Trump's name is on the ballot.
All right. I hear what you're laying down. I can give that some room.
They only care if Trump's name is on the ballot.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that's interesting to
everyone
me
else is gonna be pissed and be like, get the fuck, get. And honestly, are we even gonna have Trump in 2 years? I think is a valid question.
I mean, he is obviously old and in failing health.
Yeah,
but that's even that's arguably.
Honestly, like here's the thing: is JD Vance more dangerous in his own way? Yes, but on the other hand, no one shows up for JD fucking Vance.
Well, nobody shows up, and also I think he sold out a lot of who his true core being is just to make this ticket. I don't know if he's that whacked out. I think he's selling.
No, he's an opportunist. Like most of them, he's an opportunist. He's a little fucking weasel. Like the main things that we have to look forward to are Russia is going to take eastern Ukraine. That's going to be bad. The rest of Europe is going to look at us super fucking weird. The rest of the world is going to look at us super fucking weird, being like, is the American military going to ride to the rescue if my bigger fucking neighbor shows up to fight me? Now, luckily, if anything, Russia has proved itself so fucking incompetent at fucking warfare that Poland is okay. The Baltic states are rough, but they may be able to hold the fucking line, and they're preparing to hold the fucking line as we speak. They're building their border defenses such that the Russians are going to have a real bad day if they fucking try and take Tallinn.
I agree with what Olivia said here, but I don't think a lot of these fucking right wingers care. Most of them have
they don't. But JD Vance has the charisma of a potato. No, yes, the right wingers do care because JD Vance doesn't have a cult. He is not the chosen of God.
Okay, all right, fine.
Right? You understand this?
Here's the other little glimmer of hope. Apparently Gavin Newsom is jumping right the fuck in, and he's calling a special session to protect California liberal policies from federal interventions. And they did that apparently in the first Trump term. So something that Rob and some other folks have talked about with me today is that Newsom will be the vocal, high profile, slick celebrity style political retort to Trump for like media sound bites, that he can be the one that's talking smack.
Olivia makes a good point. They like even other Republicans don't like him. The only argument,
Vance,
is the thing, and I've heard from other conservatives, from other people being like, well, I'm a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. I don't agree with everything, but did you agree with everything that Hillary Clinton said? No, this is blatant fucking racism and misogyny and everything else. Every time someone pipes up and says, I'm a fiscal conservative, they're a fucking liar. They have no concept. They are an idiot. They were a bad, and I'm going to say this to everyone, because I'm going to be very fucking clear. I've had family that has worked for the Republican Party for their entire fucking lives. Every one of them was like, I will be hanged in fucking hell before I vote for that fucking traitor. These people worked for the Republican Party their entire fucking lives.
Yeah.
I mean, my family has gone from split Republican Democrat to, oh, the fuck we will. Like, all of a sudden, like, David all of a sudden is a fucking prophet. Because now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we fucked it. Yeah, you fucked up. No, anyone who voted for him the second time around, no. I want to be very clear because I want to. I'm going to post something on our page on Facebook later from he's a super influential legal commentator, and he goes by the name of Popat. It's a long story.
Sounds like it.
It's a long story. It's an inside joke in legal circles. But Popat is a super influential legal commentator, and one of his second point in his list of what to do the day after was stop believing in the innateness of American goodness. Stop believing in the innateness of American goodness. And one of the things I want to look at all these other people and be like, no, you didn't vote about economics. I know you didn't vote about economics because Harris's policies were better economically for you than Trump's were. Patently. Easily. It didn't take more than 5 seconds of research to recognize.
Okay. These people don't do that, though, but go ahead.
It didn't. But the vast majority of you know... No, because if it was about economics, it was about what's better for my pocketbook. Trump's tariff thing should have turned you off immediately.
But these people are too stupid to understand that, David.
Well, but here's the thing.
I should probably say ignorant and throw them a bone.
Here's the problem.
But...
We need to start understanding stupid is bad. We need to start understanding these people is bad.
But they still vote.
Yeah, but here's the thing. No one's told them that they're bad.
Well,
we haven't like, you want to talk about the people bucking up and saying the truth and standing by it?
Yeah, like Biden when he should have said, yeah, garbage. I meant it.
Yeah. No, these people, because I saw one post by someone who was like, but I have a family, I have a kid, blah blah. I'm like, no, you're a bad person. we need to start acknowledging, like, no, you're bad people. You believe, whether it be religiously or whatever, that however you think about things, that you're going to get something. No, you're just a bad fucking person. You're not good. You make America less good.
Less great.
And less great. You are the problem. Now,
So
granted, there's other people who have problems, but one of the things I feel like there's an opportunity to do here is to really fucking hit home. You're a fucking moron because you're about to fuck yourself beyond belief. And you're going to look at everyone and try and blame everyone. And I really feel like the Democratic Party has an opportunity and should take this opportunity, which is once that tariff hits, once their stupid tax issues hit, to look at them and be like, you voted for this asshole. You're at fault. Don't look at me and be like, oh, I don't want to vote for somebody who made me. No, you're bad. You shouldn't vote. You shouldn't vote ever because you're an idiot. You don't deserve to vote.
Yeah, I get that, but like, That's a tall order. There are
No, because here's the problem. No,
millions and
you want to talk about
millions
bold
of these
action? You want
morons,
to talk about
dude.
bold action? Stand up, take the bold action, and point the finger where it belongs.
I like what Olivia. I'm going to be ceaselessly petty. I think ceaselessly petty is probably the accurate hashtag here. I can appreciate that, and trust me,
No,
I'm
because the problem is they keep on expecting someone to coddle them. Trump went out and coddled them.
yeah.
And to look and be like, you want revolution? Here's your revolution. You're an idiot. You will literally have no idea how any of this fucking works. Everyone has tried to coddle you and be like, well, this isn't a kitchen table issue, like things like sovereign debt, all the rest of this. No, you're a fucking moron. It's
I
finally time
am
someone stood up to you and looked at you and said, you're stupid. And that's bad.
I
You are
am
bad.
definitely down with the "you asked for this" kind of mentality. Um, I love the memes that say stuff like, when they force your daughter to have her rapist baby, just remember that you did it all for the price of gas.
But the thing is, to them, it's all individual. You have to make it a group guilt. You have to look at them as a group and say, no, you as a group did this. You are idiots and you are bad. Someone needs to be your parent at this point and look at you and tell you you're bad.
I'm not sure how to accomplish that, but I don't think that I ideologically disagree with you. I just don't know how in the world we ever get there.
I mean, I think it's pretty easy, which is you stand up and you look at you show up in Iowa. First of all, you show up in Iowa at the great kowtow to the Iowa farmers, and you're like, no, you all are fucking morons. You have built the United States government for billions of dollars of subsidies.
Yeah.
And you have produced what? Nothing. Every one of you is a fucking failure at your jobs.
A liquid
Your job is to produce food, and you suck at it.
Dairy farmers, in that case, a liquid that is barely relevant to human development at all, and mostly driven by a marketing.
Show up in Wisconsin. Look at the dairy farmers. Be like, fuck you. All of you are terrible people. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves.
I don't know how it would play. I know around here it wouldn't be very West Michigan nice, but
no. But the thing is, I think we're all tired of everyone trying. Like the problem, like as you pointed out, one of the problems with the Democratic Party is, we're too nice. We're too nice.
That is
Let's
true.
just rip off the fucking Band-Aid and tell people who don't vote Democrat anyway, fuck you. Because you know what they're not expecting? They're not expecting a Democratic candidate to look them in the eye and say, fuck you, you're a bad person.
You're not wrong. And the other side does get away with that constantly. We're all heathens. We're all terrible. We're all evil. We're all witches, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So right now, it's mostly watching through your fingers as news leaks out about things like cabinet. I want to close this out by looking at the possibilities for balance or change. Judicial appointments could be a mess.
No, that's out the fucking window. The only thing that's going to fix that is if we rip up the Judicial Act of 1789, and we've got to. We've got to get a majority, and we've got to rip up the Judiciary Act of 1789.
Then there's the cabinet. Of course, we're going to be following all of that news, as we already have one.
And we can only hope that the career officers and career individuals who are in the military and in civil service do their best to mitigate the stupid that is about to roll downhill like an actual avalanche of shit.
The Powell thing, that's encouraging. Powell being kept and has to be kept. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Here's what I wonder, David, and I'm curious about your take on this, and then we're going to wrap this up. I have thought about You know, all of these little slimy, self-serving GQP twats that have attached themselves to Trump because they didn't want to get
What do
primary.
they do after?
No, what do they do when they're coming up on midterms and shit's not going well or hasn't been delivered?
It doesn't matter.
What do?
They spin the same fairy tale that they spun before. This is the reality. Like, here's one of the things that we have to acknowledge, which is we keep on hearing, oh, leftists are in an echo chamber. All these people are in an echo chamber. They're not. We're not in an echo chamber. We're talking about legitimate things. The problem is we have a lot of people. I had to explain to some girl the other day. She's like, well, Trump never got convicted of rape. I'm like, yes, he did. Like, there's a difference between civil and criminal law, and he was found guilty of sexual assault under the civil law. Like, I'm sorry, a lot of people are fucking stupid. And one of the things that we need to make clear, and I'm tired of this. This is one of the things that I'm absolutely, if this election has made me absolutely exasperated about something, is this. Most of you, I really want to look at America. I want to get in front of a television screen. I want to take a microphone, look at most America, and be like, most of you are idiots. Most of you are bad fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
You are not good people. You are. I want to be very clear, so that there's no misunderstanding. You're not good at your jobs. You're not good at whatever the fuck you do. You literally just suck at everything. Everyone has constantly told you for your entire life that because you're an American, you're better at things. You
Right.
aren't. You suck at them. Literally by every metric that could possibly be imagined, you suck at it.
So, but here's the thing, dude. Like, that's a massive job, and it's not going to ever happen. We have to accept. I wouldn't say embrace. I was about to say
No,
embrace.
I mean, no,
we have to
no,
accept the stupidity and work with it. We have to meet people where they are, and that's the thing that I don't think the DNC
I'm
has
tired of me.
decoded
Like,
how
the
to do
problem
that.
is that we kind of tried that this time, and it didn't work. I think we need to the meeting people where they are thing isn't true, because
then
Trump
what do
didn't
we-
meet people
what do
where
we
they are.
do?
Trump didn't care.
What do we do
We
to
need
flip?
to tell, like, if you want to really shake up the American electorate, tell them the absolute fucking truth. Stand up and tell them the absolute fucking truth, which is that you all suck. You are idiots. You are not good parents. You are not good laborers. You are not good at anything.
But you don't think that'll drive them to the right?
I think it might just shake things up a little bit, where people will start asking questions about what? Someone just stood up and told me that
Basically, you're describing what I thought during Clinton's run, which was, yeah, they are deplorables. Stick with that.
but she backed off.
Right.
She ran away from it.
Just like
she
Biden with the, the only garbage I see is his supporters. I wouldn't have walked that.
But the thing is, it can't just be a one-off comment. It has to be pointed and directed, and looking at them and
It
saying,
has to be a mantra.
no.
Yeah.
And like, the thing is, someone has to stand up and be the bad mom, like the punishing mom. I think half of the American electorate are fucking like sexual fucking submissives, man. Like, they want a dom. That's why Trump is getting elected, because Trump they imagine Trump is going to be their dommy daddy.
Damn. Well,
I mean, because if you look at it, like, there's no possible way you could look at it, whatever the fuck he says, and think that you're going to be better off, or that your neighbors are going to be better off. Like, no, you are looking for someone to scold you at this point, because literally everyone in the world, Democrats and Republicans, have constantly told you you're the best in the world. No, you aren't.
well, and that's a cultural trap that we fall into at a large scale.
I know, but maybe the key to getting out of this bullshit is breaking out of it and telling people the truth. Is that, no, you aren't.
Yeah.
You aren't good. You aren't morally good people. you aren't more productive than anyone else. You're just dumber and work more hours. That's it.
Well, and that's the challenge, right? Like, how do we return the people that belong in the political wilderness to the wilderness? How do we make the blame evident for all the bad shit that'll happen in 2 years? I'm not completely
I kind of
in
think it has to be.
despair.
It has to be. I really feel like it has to be the open hand. Shit, camera. Open hand.
Here you go. I'll do you a solid. There you
Here we
go.
go. Thank you. Open hand and the fist, which is here's the open hand. I'm gonna make your lives better. On the other hand, you're fucking morons. You have to you get both of these.
I don't disagree. I don't know how to thread the needle, but I don't disagree. It's going to be a ride. Speaking of,
We've been at this for 4 hours, but again, this was to be expected after the election.
oh, this is a big one, and we're less frequent than we used to be. And
Yeah,
I've explained to David, like, he and I might be coming up with some new concepts with this, but for my part, I'm going to lay low through the end of the year because I just can't live in this shit for several weeks. And that to me extends to the holiday season. So a holiday break is highly likely. I am trying to find the new way to live and focus on these local positives. And
that's
and
exactly right, Olivia.
it's been a rough couple of days. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
we're all gonna have to process.
I like
and
that.
I think
You guys really fucked things up. Now, can we fix it for you? I think that's a really interesting summary.
Yep, that's the tagline, right there.
I like it. I do like it. All right. I am so glad to have done this. It really helped cap the couple of days of really hard to deal with life and thoughts. And thanks again to John for joining us. And
Yeah.
of course, it's always good to do this with you, my friend, and all the people. There were so many people. I know that I put this out there in a couple of spaces. Probably got some new folks joining us, and then a lot of people that needed the therapy session of just bantering about this shit. We're in this together. We're in it together with the people that
Yeah.
were dumb enough to pull this shit over on us.
And to reiterate, like we began this show because this was the only way we could do shit about what the fuck was happening around us.
Yeah,
And-
that's a fair point. Yeah, I mean,
hopefully-
it was a reaction to despair and trauma.
Yeah, and it was. And you know, we're kind of back in that place again. And again, we're gonna take a holiday break.
Figure it
And
out.
me and Lucas are gonna try and rejigger this, and hopefully, we're gonna be back real soon and keep doing this on a maybe different schedule. To you know, again, as things are gonna get worse.
Yeah,
For us to say our piece and do our little part to say no.
everybody's got to do something, and so we intend to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. And our platform has changed, and my tools are a little bit clumsy, but we'll give you the same thing that we always give you. We wish you the best, and now more than ever, good night, good evening,
And good luck.
good luck indeed.